Boy! We're allowed to hit red. Let me turn the fan off. It's not too caught right now? It's not too caught. Not too hot right now. I just was like, I had the fan on for some circulation. 1 second. Fix one thing. Alright. There we go. Okay. Alright, there we go. Just sending a text message. Anyways, wow! Oh, that was guttural. Wow! Oh my god, we're here at the conclusion. The possible conclusion of Shibuya Scramble. If you might notice, I am starting stream a little early today. Or rather, quite early today, because, because I would like to try and finish this game today. So, I think we are probably 3-ish hours from the end of the game. Provided I don't get distracted and pop off on some random tangent for like 20-30 minutes. But yeah, I would like to allot 3 to 4 hours for this stream. Because I kind of want to finish this game today. We've been playing it for a very long time. And I think, you know, it's the end, kind of. It would be really bad if we stopped the stream with only 1 hour left of the game, don't you think? That'd be kind of cursed, so let's really try and get through it all. But anyways. I don't know what to expect. I really don't. I want to talk about some predictions briefly. Something that's bothering me the most right now is one... Well, I've been thinking about it a lot since last stream, right? There's a few things that bother me. One is the significance of Numi and Shizuo. Numi seemed to play a bigger part than I thought she would, because she was a plot device, because, right, she's the one who told Minorikawa ultimately, about, the Osawa twins and the, how do you say, the beauty contest they were in, and she's basically the reason that Minorikawa got tangled up in the whole thing. So I'm wondering kind of what her role is, and if she and her father are gonna appear again. That's number one. Number two is, what is the deal with Stanley / Kanan? Because Kanan doesn't trust him and doesn't like her. Because, like, right, Maria's memory about Kanan was Kanan saying, like, you cannot trust this man. Absolutely not. No matter what, you cannot trust this man. And it's like, why? That's one thing. As well as, right when they were both in the hospital, they were, like, at, like, knives with each other, right? The real question is, why does Stanley, like, not like Kanan either? Because he knows who Kanan is. And I'm just wondering, is this a racial profiling? You know, Kanan's from the Middle East. Maybe Stanley just racist. Who knows? But I'm very curious kind of what exactly the conflict between them two is. Because one of them probably is evil. Or not evil, but, I mean, I think in Stanley's case, he might not necessarily be evil if he's the bad guy. He's just working under CIA directives, right? And those could be, evil, quote, quote. Hurts?
Hi, Life Virus. How's your foot? How's your leg?
And yes, it is 7:05. I saw your message, but I'm starting early today because I want to finish this game. So this stream is probably gonna be 3 to 4 hours long. But I didn't really want to like have a 2-hour stream and then stop right at like the climax of the game. That would be sucko. So. IDK if it's finishable in 3 hours. I'm pretty sure it is. I don't remember though. And why you say you don't know if it's finishable in 3 hours? Whee! So where we left off last week, let me turn down the game audio a tiny bit. Where we left off last week is we hit the end of Minorikawa's story, right? And Achi showed up in it. So let's play Achi's section first. Oh, we've already made this jump. Okay, okay. Oops. So we previously... Because we have 2 hours of stories left, and we usually are pretty lucky if we can finish 1 hour in a stream. Yeah, but that's because we have 1 hour we play 5 stories. So... standing in the doorway was a man Achi didn't recognize, his face pale. Stay back! I just realized, I guess, did we ever finish? No, it does say to be continued, so we can skip the... Oh. But the climax of stories are probably extra long. Never mind. It looked like Maria had fallen unconscious. Achi's heart was racing in his chest. An eerie silence fell over the room. For several seconds, no one said a word, their eyes all fixed on Maria. Finally, Kanan looked up, her face ashen. It's starting. Bruh. Haha, very funny. PP joke. Good one. To be continued. Stupid bug. So we physically cannot go on. What? But we can somehow go on with... Okay, so maybe Kano's... Achi's story can't be pushed forward until we push it forward with Kano's story, I guess. Kano's cell phone rang. He saw Kuze's name on the display. Kano speaking. What the hell are you doing? The director's voice was shrill with irritation. What's the situation with Maria Ozawa? I have her in custody, sir. We need to get her into quarantine immediately. I'll send a counter NBC terrorism unit to pick her up. What's your location? Sir, the situation is a little complicated at that moment, you think? Kano replied. He and Stanley made eye contact. Kano gave him a knowing nod. He knew what he needed to do here. He briefly informed Kuze of the plan to take Maria to the laboratory, but was careful not to mention Alfred. Please, sir, Kano said, bowing reflexively to the phone. Let me handle this. Absolutely not, Kuze exclaimed. There's no way I can allow that. Maria Ozawa needs to go into quarantine right now. Sir, please just give us a little more time. Kuze kinda sus. Giving her the antiviral is the only way we can save her. If we put her in quarantine, it'll be a death sentence. Kuze let out a growl of frustration. Kano, that isn't your decision to make. Kano had run out of arguments. It was clear that Kuze's only concern was stopping the spread of the virus. Dr. Kuze, are you just going to let Maria Ozawa die? We can't put the lives of everyone in Shibuya at risk in order to save a single person. I know that, sir. That's why I'm asking you to please let me go to that laboratory. And it looks like we're not going to be able to hack the password. And if it looks like we're not going to be able to hack the password, then at that point, we can... Kano! Kuze snapped. I'm giving you an order. And I'm not accepting that yet. You tell him. Listen, Kuze said, how many years have you been a cop? What do you mean by that, sir? Kuze didn't reply. Is this an order from up top? What's going on here, sir? Please, I need some kind of explanation. Stop it, Kuze said. You sound like a child. This is the... dereliction of duty? I don't know how to pronounce that. Call me a child if you want, but I'm not following an order that I know isn't right. Yeah, you tell him. Kano punched the end call button with his thumb. Gaming time! Gaming time indeed.
Hi, Starshade. How's it going? Thanks for the resub. But how you doing today?
You are literally here at the very end of like a narrative-driven game, so you're probably gonna be really fucking confused what's going on. But how's it going? We are playing Shibuya Scramble, which is a mystery text adventure. There we go. That's what I'm trying to say. I spend most of my life confused. Mood. Big mood. Perfect, then you're here amongst friends. From an objective standpoint, maybe Kuze was right. They needed to think about more than just Maria. If the UA virus spread through Shibuya, it might be a nightmare of epic proportions. Kano understood that perfectly clearly, but still, he looked down at Maria's face as she lay collapsed on the floor. The girl was still alive, and Kano couldn't stand idly by and let a living, breathing person die. Consequences be damned, he wasn't going to be the one to weigh the worth of someone's life. As he stood clutching his cell phone, Stanley gently set a hand on his shoulder. You did fine, he said quietly. Alfred is in possession of the UA virus. The people of Shibuya are already in danger. He may have already released the virus in the city. If he hasn't, he may do so at any time. Right now, what we need to do is get that antiviral and arrest Alfred. You made the right choice here. Thanks, Stanley. I appreciate hearing that. Stanley gave Kano a slap on the back. They're turning into buddy cops! He was right. At this point, they needed to focus on the things they could still accomplish. So, guys, Achi stepped forward. Who's gonna take Hitomi's sister and Kanan to the lab? Maria was in no condition to walk, so they were going to have to take a car, which meant they needed a driver. Kimuzuka. I only have a motorcycle license, Achi said, and I don't know where the lab is anyhow. I should go with Maria alone. Kanan looked over at the others. There's no way of knowing for sure when she might become contagious. We shouldn't needlessly risk exposing more people to infection. That's a good point. She knelt down to gather Maria in her arms. She's literally about to die for Maria, though. In that case, I should drive. Kano whirled around behind the sound of a new voice behind him. Tateno? How can he arrest himself? You're under arrest, handcuffed self. Tateno was standing in the doorway. You! Achi's face went red with rage. Ah, I see. So this is how we continue Achi's story. I am a little more interested in following Achi for now because of how he, is the appears at the very end of Minonikawa's story, so. You! Achi snarled. In the doorway stood the man with the cane. Detective Tateno? Tateno. Kano and Daisuke spoke simultaneously. Now, at last, Achi had a name for the assassin. It was a name he felt he'd heard somewhere before. You son of a bitch! Achi roared. What the hell are you doing here? Tateno bowed his head profusely. I am truly sorry. You're sorry? Sorry, don't cut it, man. Not after what you were trying to do to Hitomi. I don't expect you to forgive me. And I intend to turn myself in, to be punished for my crimes. But before I do that, please let me do what I can to help you. I think you've helped enough. Achi grabbed Tateno by the collar and drew back a fist. Kano moved to stop him, but Tateno held up a hand. No, it's alright. Let him do as he pleases. There was no trace of the menacing expression the man had worn in their previous encounters. Achi scowled, but lowered his fists, then released his hold on Tateno's collar. Fine. Hitomi's sister needs help, so we do need a driver right now. Make sure those two get to the lab and back safely. That'll make up for that punch I didn't give you just now. Thank you. I'm so sorry. Daisuke stepped forward. No, I'm the one who should be apologizing. I'm the one who got you caught up in this. Daisuke, we really didn't grow up to be very good people, did we? No, guess not. The two men stared bleakly at each other, shoulders slumped. In the end, Tateno said, I guess we were just trying to run away from our pain. Yeah, didn't expect my own son to be the one to teach me that. Achi turned out to be a fine young man. He is Kotone's boy after all. Guys! Achi stepped in the middle of their solemn dart. You can get sappy all you want later. Dad, once this is all over, we're gonna see Suzune, okay? Sure. Daisuke nodded heartily. Hold on, Kano spoke up, turning to Stanley. If these two take Maria to the lab, that just leaves the two of us to apprehend Alfred down at the Scramble. Is that going to be enough? I mean, Alfred's not going to show up without a plan. The more people we have on our side, the better, and I doubt we'll be able to get any help from the police. Good point, Stanley agreed. Hey, Achi said, I'm here too, and I'm going with you. I'll keep Hitomi safe. Look, good news, Kano, we have 3 people. Oh, look, good news, Kano, now we have 3 people. It was sarcastic. Stanley let out a sardonic laugh. Kano frowned. Achi, I appreciate the offer, but having 3 people instead of 2 won't make much of a difference. When you're not sure of the enemy's exact plan, you really need strength in numbers. If we set up a dragnet like the task force did this morning, that'd be ideal, but... Come on, Detective, Achi said. Don't you have any idea what sort of approach this psycho might take? If I were Alfred, Kano mused, then I suppose my biggest problem would be figuring out how to get away after I'd taken Hitomi's blood. Stanley nodded in agreement. I'm betting he plans to involve the UA virus, he said. If, for instance, he tells us he set up a device somewhere to spread the virus out of Shibuya, that prevents us from taking action against it. Yo, is Daisuke on chill, or, you know, what's the deal with the deal? Achi swallowed hard. This guy wanted to unleash a killer virus in Shibuya? If he succeeded, then the town Achi had known and loved all his life would become a graveyard. Of course, that's mere conjecture, Stanley murmured. Quite frankly, even I can only guess what he's going to do. His expression was grim. Strength in numbers, huh? Achi said. So you're saying we absolutely need more people, is that it? Essentially, yes, Stanley replied. But not just anyone, mind. If it's not a group that meshes well, it'll hinder more than help. Kano folded his arms across his chest. He looked perplexed. Kano asking if I were me. You really think that Kano is Alfred, huh? You who mesh well together, huh? Achi had an idea. They could ask the police for backup. It might be a long shot, but it was their only move. He could ask SOS. If there was anything he could do, it was that. There we go. He could ask SOS. If there was anything he could do, it was that. It was a selfish request, he knew that. Suzume would probably be furious with him, but Achi would just have to deal with that. Even if his old pals wouldn't forgive him, if they understood, they'd be helping protect Shibuya. He was sure they'd step up and take action. After all, the whole point of the gang was that it was made up of people who loved their town. Can you give me half an hour? I'm gonna try and see if we can rustle up some people. Kano straightened himself up. You think you can do it? Achi nodded assertively. Just wait here for me, okay? He said to Hitomi. She gave him a worried smile. Alright, I'll be waiting. It'll be okay, it'll be okay. Achi did his best to sound reassuring. I promise I'll bring back some help. Everyone is Alfred.
League of Alfred.
He knew where he needed to go. The pool hall in Ura Harajuku, that was his old gang's main hangout. Running at top speed, he could probably make it in about 10 minutes. Alright! Rushing out the door with a battle cry loud enough for Kano and the others to hear from back inside the shop, Achi sped his way. Traffic on Dokunzaka was at a near standstill. Had there been some sort of major accident? As Achi ran along the roadside, he heard a middle-aged man screaming angrily. You gotta be kidding me. What do you mean no trains are stopping Shibuya? The guy was red in the face. Of course it's Shizuo. What the heck is going on? Achi felt compelled to stop and check things out. Calm down, old man. Achi ignored him and kept on running. I'm curious, but I don't think this is the right answer, but whatever. What the heck is going on? Achi felt compelled to stop and check things out. Calm down, Dad. The young woman with the man must be his daughter, then. How am I supposed to do that? You heard what that boy said. We have to get out of Shibuya right away. Whoa! Achi got a look at the young woman's face. She was gorgeous. He had the feeling he'd seen her on TV or something before something. She was probably an actress, but he couldn't recall her name. Well, Achi muttered to himself, you might be pretty, but you're no Hitomi. Aww. Once more, he broke out into a run. There was a whole bunch of people walking in the direction of Route 246. It looks like the folks really couldn't use the trains right now. Was this some consequence of Maria being infected with the UA virus? Then I'd better hurry. We're the only people who can fix this. Yeah! With another cry to pump himself up, Achi bolted down the sidewalk, countered in the throng. Finally, he arrived at SOS's hangout. Two young men were standing by the door as lookouts. Achi recognized one of them. It was the kid whose so-called buddies had tried to shake him down earlier that afternoon. They roused themselves as Achi approached. Hey, I need to see Suzumu. No can do. He's in the middle of something right now. Lookouts made no move to let him through. Achi felt a surge of resentment towards Suzumu. If he'd still been with SOS, he'd never try to post members on guard duty like they were low-ranking Yakuza slugs. Achi pressed again. Please, I need to see him. It's important. Fine, then I guess I'll have to do this the hard way. Achi forcibly shoved the two of them aside. I don't think they're gonna see a reason, but let's try and do this peacefully. Achi pressed again. Please, I need to see him. It's important. Just tell him Achi's here. He'll make an exception. At the mention of his name, the two lookouts exchanged glances. Alright, I'll go ask him. Oh, that's not what happened in Minorikawa's story. One of the lookouts headed inside, leaving Achi alone with the kid he'd helped out earlier. They always stick you on guard duty? The boy didn't reply. Back when I ran SOS, we never needed anyone on lookout. We were just a bunch of guys who loved Shibuya. We had a fun time hanging out with each other. That's all it was, really. It's not Susumu's fault that SOS has changed, the boy said, somewhat fearfully. Lately, it's Kiryu who's been driving things. Kiryu? Oh yeah, that guy. Achi recalled his earlier run-in with him. The guy was an arrogant bully. Kiryu's planning to steal Susumu's throne. What for? The boy took a nervous look at the door before hurriedly continuing. He's trying to expand SOS's influence, and he's got a lot of people on his side. Right now, the gang is kind of split into two factions, Susumu's guys and Kiryu's guys. Finally, Achi understood what was going on. The gang members had all been acting so weird because they were caught up in some kind of internal struggle. Kiryu goes around recruiting new followers by force, and if he doesn't like you, he dishes out punishment. This month alone, he sent 8 people to the hospital. SOS is a total mess, man. This plan of mine might not work after all. Achi felt a sinking sense of despair. If SOS was ravaged with infighting, it was doubtful they'd heed a dangerous request he had for him. But even still, I want to be a part of this gang, the boy muttered. Achi peered at him in surprise. Why? They shake you down for dues, stick you on guard duty? That's not a decent way to treat someone. I look up to Suzumu. He treats me like he would anyone else, even though I'm way down at the bottom. And it's not just me. Suzumu always puts the members of the gang before himself. That's why I want to stick with SOS. Oh. Aha! So that's it, huh? Suzumu really had been trying his best, and the members of SOS, some of them at least, admired him for it and stuck by him. Thanks, Achi said. The kid gave him a dubious look. Achi didn't know if Suzumu would help him out or not, but he knew it was still worth putting their disagreements aside in order to ask. The door opened, and the other lookout returned. Suzumu says to come on in. Achi nodded and strode inside. This is probably where Minorikawa can break it. Yep. Honestly, as the number of stories has been reduced, like dwindling or shrinking, right? Because now we're only following 2 characters. It's really nice not having to search, like comb through so many different character stories for breaking keep outs. It's pretty straightforward. The door opened and the other lookout returned. Suzumu says to come on in. Achi nodded and strode inside. The scent of alcohol and cigarettes washed over him. Susumu sat on the sofa at the far end of the counter. A bar. It was where Achi used to sit back in the day. What do you want? Susumu asked immediately. Achi walked up to him and got down on his hands and knees. Huh? What are you doing down there? The hell is this all about? I need people to bring a guy down. I'm here to ask for your help. The crowd around him flew into an uproar. Peals of mocking laughter rang in Achi's ears. I know I've no right to ask you this, but please, I really need your help. Just some guy, huh? Who? He's an international terrorist trying to get hands on some wonder drug for a killer virus. If we don't catch him, somebody I know is going to die. And that's not all. He's trying to unleash the killer virus here in the city. Susumu burst out laughing. Is this some kind of joke? You all right in the head there, Achi? The other gang members followed his lead, unleashing another storm of mockery. The laughter continued for quite some time. Finally Achi had enough. Shut your damn mouth. Achi said nothing, and grit his teeth and stared up Susumu. Achi said nothing. He endured the ridicule and simply stared up at Susumu. As patiently as he could, he waited for Susumu to give the proverbial nod. Finally, the laughter subsided, and Susumu crouched down and got into Achi's face. Is that how you go about asking someone for a favor? Susumu growled menacingly. If you have a problem with me kowtowing like this, then I can apologize some other way. All you want. But you don't care that I just told you Shibuya is in danger? Achi's voice was unwavering. But face it, Susumu. Isn't Shibuya the reason everyone hangs out with each other? You're telling me you don't want to keep our town safe. If you're telling me that you don't want to keep our town safe, then I won't ask you guys for anything again. I withdraw my request. The two glared into each other's eyes. Then, before Susumu could reply, an odd man stepped between them. Oh, so his story's not over. Okay, so it's still the end. Okay. It just so happened that was a kind of unnecessary jump. Skipping back to where I was, aggressively button-mashing spacebar. Sounds like you've got an interesting story, said. Mind letting me hear it too? You again? Didn't you already get your interview? Susumu rolled his eyes. I think Grovels here might be telling the truth. The newcomer's face was all seriousness. It lines up with the information I have. Hey, Grovels, you got a second? My name's not Grovels, Achi growled. It's Achi. I'm Minoru Minorikawa, magazine reporter. And I know a bit about the stuff you were saying just now. The killer virus you mentioned is called the UA virus. That wonder drug is an antiviral medication, and the person you know who might die is Miria Osawa. Am I right? Achi was almost too shocked for words. How do you know all that? Monikawa ignored him and turned to the SOS leader. Susumu, he said, something really is going on in Shibuya. What are you gonna do about it, boss? Susumu bit his lip. He looked pretty conflicted. Sounds good to me, someone called out. Let's give him a hand. Oh. Achi turned to see where the voice had come from. It was Kiryu. You shut up, Susumu said with a glare. Break out of your rut, old man, Kiryu sneered. Achi here is right. Isn't keeping our beloved Shibuya safe what SOS does? He slipped an arm around Achi's shoulders. You're okay with that, right, Achi? Me going against Susumu's orders to help you out? Kiryu's lips pulled back in a broad, unsettling grin. But first, we have unfinished business, you and I mean, I'm willing to lend you a hand, even though you ditched the gang and all. But first, we've got to settle our score, here and now. You understand, don't you? Yeah, you're right. It's guillotine time! What the heck? A bunch of the gang members started up an eager clamor at Kiryu's pronouncement. In a matter of moments, Achi was grabbed from all sides and hoisted up onto the pool table. A dozen young men held down his arms and legs, positioning him so his head jutted out past the table's edge. Kiryu brought out steel pipe nearly a meter long. It was caked liberally with dried blood. What? Guillotine. This is dark. The men of Kiryu's faction pumped their fists in the air, chanting madly. Kiryu licked his lips, as if drunk off their cheers. Glancing to one side, Achi saw Minorikawa speak emphatically to Suzumu. It looked like the reporter was trying to talk some sense into the SOS leader. Man, today is my lucky day. I get to take the head of SOS's original head. Achi twisted his neck to peer up at him. Man, what point is there in taking my head right now? Oh my. You don't get it, do you? See, if I send you to the hospital, everyone in Shibuya is gonna know my name. And once I got that big ass sign over my head, I'll be able to unite this town under my banner in one fell swoop. Kiryu's eyes were crazed and bloodshot. And that's all the more reason for you to do it as I'm asking. If you want to unite Shibuya, you have to protect it first. But if you think you need my head to do that, then go right ahead. Even if these guys were all like Kiryu. If this many of them actually showed up at the Scramble, they'd be able to do far more than Achi could hope to do by himself. The ultimate goal was to capture Alfred. Achi didn't care how they made that happen. He was just sorry he wouldn't get to see it through, to protect Hitomi to the very end. Okay then, Kiryu, brave. The gloves are coming off. Go on, do it. Achi braced himself. Achi balked at the last second. Hold on. We're not a coward. Go on, do it. Achi braced himself. Just make sure you keep your promise. Kiryu raised the steel pipe high above his head. Then, before he brought it down, he flicked the tip of his tongue from his mouth like a snake. You dumbass, I didn't promise you nothing. Achi strained in a sudden panic, but his limbs were pinned down too forcefully for him to have any hope of avoiding what was to come. Oh! Someone must have stopped it, right? Yeah, for sure. But the steel pipe never struck home. Just when it was about to smash into Achi's head, Susumu grabbed hold of it. The hell you doing? Enough of this crap, Kiryu. Susumu yanked the pipe from Kiryu's grasp and tossed it to the floor. Kiryu stood frozen in surprise. A vein pulsed angrily in his forehead. You guys too, Susumu added, glaring at the others. Let him go. The toughs holding Achi down cautiously took their hands away. Kiryu let out a red-faced cry of rage. But we got unfinished business! Ignoring him, Susumu helped Achi slide off the table. Every man gets to make one request in his life that cannot be denied. Do you remember saying that? The words stirred up some bitter memories within Achi. Yeah, I remember. But you didn't grant me my request. No, I guess not. That's why I'm going to heed yours. No questions asked. Susumu held out his right hand. Susumu, you're... That'll make me a better man, finally. Achi reached out his hand and clasped Susumu's hand in his. You're quite the guy. Susumu cracked a tiny grin. It was the sort of smile Achi had seen all the time back when he'd run with SOS. Suddenly, Susumu staggered and dropped to the floor, falling too fast even to cry out. What? Kiryu had snatched a steel pipe back from the floor, striking Susumu from behind once his back was turned. To hell with this, he howled like a madman. SOS doesn't belong to you guys, not anymore. Achi didn't flinch. SOS doesn't belong to anyone, he said. It's not mine, it's not Susumu's, and it isn't yours. We're just a bunch of friends hanging out and having a good time. That's the only reason we get together. Nothing more, nothing less. He turned and looked slowly around the room. Hey, you guys, do you all get together because someone told you to assemble? Do you get together to follow someone's orders? No, you don't. Of course you don't. The bar fell silent. Achi could see the young men who surrounded him exchanging glances. They couldn't tell that his words rang true. Kiryu saw it too, and it only made him more agitated. Shut up! Enough with the warm fuzzies! Abruptly he charged forward, giving the pipe a mighty swing. Achi managed to dodge the attack by a mere hair. If he had connected, the blow might well have knocked his head clean off. He quickly backed away. What's the matter? Kiryu taunted. How come all you do is run? How come the pipe crashed down onto the bar top? Can someone tell me my other account's name? I straight up forgot. Hello, Random Octo. You know, admittedly, I can't say that I remember as well, but you can probably retrieve it with your email if you know what email you signed up with. But yeah, how's it going, Random Octo? Been a spell. How have you been? Bottles of beer and liquor smashed and scattered. Come on, what's the matter, Achi? Kiryu slammed his weapon into the pool table, sending balls scattering across the floor. Some of them collided with Susumu. Susumu let out a faint groan. This is the reason I keep making accounts. That is unlucky. Have you considered writing them down? Or just... I guess, what's the setting you can do? Like, keep me logged in? Like, don't log out when you close browsers and shit? I'm doing good just watching Winx and sadly seeing white Flora and whitewashed Aisha. Did they really whitewash Flora? No way. Well, that's very sad. That's very depressing. I wouldn't be surprised, though, honestly, if they whitewashed the... Because I don't remember all the Winx, but I do remember, like, there was the redhead, there was Stella, she's the blondie. Flora was she had, like, olive skin. Is Aisha the Asian one? I don't remember. And then there was a redhead, another redhead. Like the purple. There was like a purple and red head, and then there was a blue and red head. Girl, please. Hey, random actor. Remember we talked about? Please don't girl please me, or don't girl me anything. Oh, I just think I missed the last dialogue. Kiryu slammed his weapon into the pool table, sending balls scattering across the floor. Some of them collided with Susumu. Susumu let out a faint groan. Smirking at the sound, Kiryu stalked towards him. Oops. Speaking of unfinished business, with a gleaming grin, Kiryu took an aim at Susumu's head, lifting the pipe up high. Stop! Before he could think better of it, Achi was rushing for his fallen friend. Heh, you dumbass. Without missing a beat, Kiryu shifted his weight and swung the steel pipe at Achi's temple. Whabap! Achi responded with a fast high kick with his right leg. The steel pipe connected hard with his shin, but it was Kiryu who went reeling off balance. Yeah! Achi pivoted and put all his might into a straight right to Kiryu's jaw. The blow struck home, Kiryu's head snapped back and he crumpled to the floor. There was a momentary hush of indrawn breath. Then the bar erupted in a wild clamor that practically shook the whole building. All eyes were fixed on Achi, marveling at what they had just seen go down. Heh. Sounds like folks were hoping for a little more of a fight. Susumu got to his feet, his left hand clutching his right shoulder. You alright? Achi asked. Mostly. Guess my shoulder took the brunt of the blow. The gang members from Kiryu's faction rushed to their unconscious leader's side. Achi shot them a steely glare, and they gathered up Kiryu and dragged him out of the bar. I didn't go too far here, did I? Achi asked Susumu. Is this gonna cause trouble for you? Nah, I figured Kiryu would pull something like this eventually. It was just a question of when. Right. Hiku! I'm sure he's going to gather up his own bunch after this. We'll probably wind up butting heads again. Susumu didn't sound especially eager for that fight, but he didn't sound especially afraid of it either. Achi was still worried about a few things, but his friend had clearly grown as a leader. Anyhow, back to the story about you needing some manpower. Will these guys here be enough? There were around 30 gang members still in the bar. Achi looked each of them in the eye in turn. Some he knew back from the day, while others were still fresh faces. I was born and raised in this town. I'm fond of the friends I've met here, and this has always been a great place to have a good time. And today, right here in this town, I met someone who's very special to me. And I know this doesn't involve the rest of you, but I'm willing to protect her. Achi knew he wasn't going to do a great job of getting to the point, but the members of SOS listened quietly. And so, it's like, he felt like a grade school teacher who didn't know the answer to a difficult question. He fussed with his hair and frowned sheepishly. So I'm not sure how to really put this. But Shibuya is a special town to me because of getting to meet people like that. And maybe... I mean, it's like that for you guys too. Don't you love Shibuya? So help me in this town. He bowed low and deep. I want to protect this girl who means so much to me, and the city that means so much to me as well. I know my answer. Susumu clapped a hand on Achi's shoulder. Listen up, everyone! SOS's original founder is back in action! He needs our help, and I, for one, am ready to follow him into battle. What do you say? Susumu let out a hearty cheer. The live-action version, Flora is not Flora. She's just Tara and white, and also Aisha's black, but now she's the old skin of Florida. And also Musa's the Asian girl who turned white in the live-action version. Oh, okay, right. I remember now. And she was like a big music, she was a musician. I mean, her name is literally Musa. But Aisha got to keep her hair black, keep her black skin in the live-action. Sad. Hollywood, man. One night only! One night show. When Achi marched back into his home, followed by 30 members of his old gang, Hitomi and Kana were obviously overjoyed to see him. Their happiness raised his own spirits unexpectedly high. He felt a palpable sense of accomplishment. Alright, detective, Achi shouted. Let's do this! His resounding cry echoed throughout the workroom, and the gang set out for the scramble. What's the matter, Hitomi asked. asked Achi as they made their way through the busy streets. What's the matter with what? You look pretty pale. She peered good and hard into his face. Do I now? You tired or something? I mean, you've kind of been going all out all day long, after all. Nah, it's nothing. Achi kept his voice nice and bright. I'm just a little hungry is all, so don't worry about me, or Alfred, either way, okay? I swear I'll keep you safe, Hitomi. Alright. Hitomi gave a tiny nod. Just leave it to me. Alfred's got nothing on this guy. Is he getting sick? He thumped his chest in a display of bravado, but he could feel the sweat beading on his brow. Does he have the virus? Aww, dude. When they reached a scramble, Achi took his place at the location specified by the battle plan Kana had drawn up. Hitomi was only a few meters away. Whatever happened, he was in a good position to shield her from harm. There were 3 minutes left until the rendezvous. Achi wondered what sort of person was going to show up. Still, he knew he couldn't scan the crowd too much. He needed to act as naturally as possible so Alfred wouldn't be suspicious. But I mean, Alfred must know who Achi is by this point. He risked a glance over Hitomi. Maybe now wasn't the time for admiring, but he couldn't help but think about how cute she looked. In some ways, seeing her there felt similar to when he'd first seen her that morning in the very same spot. The difference was that, this time, it wasn't just Hitomi's good looks that made him find her so attractive. They might have only spent a few hours together, but in that time he learned a lot about her as a person. Oops. He knew what was important to her, what her worries were. Her wants and desires. And also, he learned what a kind-hearted person she was. Achi recalled what happened back in the workroom. Even though her own life had been in danger all day, Hitomi had shed tears for his father and sister. She really understood people's grief and suffering. What do I do if I can't protect someone as good as her? Achi muttered under his breath, clutching his right leg. His shin was throbbing wickedly where the pipe had smashed against it. He'd been okay walking so far, but any intense fighting the leg might just give out. But he couldn't let himself worry about that now. If it came down to it, he'd be a human shield to protect Hitomi if he had to. Achi looked at his watch. Only 1 minute to go before 7 p.m. He glanced again at Hitomi. Her eyes were widened with surprise. Oh, he followed her gaze across the scramble. This is to be continued. He spotted a tall white man approaching. Interesting. Okay, so we'll finish Kano's story from here. Tateno was standing in the doorway. You! Achi's face went red with rage. Okay. Huh? Oh, in Achi's story, there's the jump back to Kano, yeah. Right. Achi's protests were vehement, but he backed down at last. Tateno would escort Kanan and Maria to the lab. That left 3 to try to apprehend Alfred. Kano, Stanley, and Achi. Having only 3 people was a dicey prospect, though, so Achi took it upon himself to head out and gather some backup. Tateno got the car keys from Daisuke, then helped Kanan pick Maria up off the floor. Kana watched him warily. There was no trace of the blood-curdling expression the older detective had shown when he was holding Maria at gunpoint. His face was that of a man with a responsibility that Tateno Kano had always known. Are you sure you're okay with doing this? Hitomi asked Tateno. You might get infected. That doesn't matter. Don't worry about me. All I care about now is helping you two if I can. He hesitated, glancing down at the unconscious girl he held. By the way, have Maria's memories come back? Hitomi tilted her head. Her memories? I suspect she took a blow to her head when she was abducted. When I ran into her earlier, she didn't even know her own name. Well, she seemed like the same sister I'd always known when she came in here. Good. Then her memory must have recovered. Kano was shocked to hear that Maria had suffered amnesia, but explained why she hadn't contacted anyone after she'd been set free. Alright then, Tateno said. We'll be back. Carrying Maria, he and Kanan headed for the door. Detective Tateno? Kano called out, and paused, tongue-tied when Tateno stopped. There were so many things Kano wanted to say, but he couldn't find the words for any of them. Once Maria's safe, I'll turn myself in. Kano kept his back turned. The words were like a dagger in Kano's heart. Once this was all over, Tateno would no longer be a detective, but a criminal. Kano knew that there's no alternative, but still the realization hit him hard. Detective Tateno, Stop your dithering! But never lose sight of what you're supposed to protect. Ever. Kano snapped back to the attention at Tateno's words. That was Dick Dictum number 1, the advice that kicked off the whole Dick diary. I'm not the one you should be worrying about right now, Tateno continued. We need to save Muriosawa's life. And protect the people of Shibuya. Kano bit his lip. Yes, you're right. Kano did his best to quash his emotions. I know that, but Kano still wanted to express his regret at how things had turned out for his idol. Yes, you're right. Kano did his best to quash his emotions. Then we're good. Tateno gave a slight nod, then headed out the door. So, what about Daisuke though? I know, right? Daisuke should be the one going to prison. Detective Tateno. Just before the older men disappeared, Kano called out one last time, be careful out there. Tateno flashed a hint of a smile, then left the workroom. There were only 30 minutes remaining until the time when Alfred had told them Hitomi should be at the Scramble. They needed to get ready for action. Is the surveillance camera system still set up? Kano asked. Yes, Daisuke replied. It looks like what happened earlier was just a temporary hacking job. Then will you help us? Daisuke inclined his head. What do you mean? I'd like you to keep your eye on the Scramble for us. If anyone suspicious tries to go near Hitomi, let us know. Anyone suspicious? How will I know what's suspicious? Like that organ trafficker who suggested you kidnap Hitomi, Mr. Endo. It's possible that he might be Alfred. Would you be able to recognize his face? Daisuke furrowed his brow deeply as he began entering commands to his keyboard. Yeah, I don't think I could ever forget. Because of him he left the rest unsaid. A moment later, several of the monitors switched over to feeds from around the Scramble. Alright, Daisuke squinted at the images. Not sure how much help I can be, but let me at least try to atone for what I've done. Of course. Thank you. Daisuke's fingers flew over the keyboard, and soon all the monitors were focused on the Scramble and its surroundings. Then he carefully adjusted the angle and zoom for each of the cameras. Now the whole area was under total surveillance. All they had to do was get their stakeout crew to the scene. Where did Achi go? Kano asked Hitomi. I'm not totally sure, but I think he went to some of his old friends. Hitomi sounded worried. Friends? Achi used to belong to a gang called the SOS. Actually, he told me he was the one who formed the gang in the first place. What? Kano couldn't keep the shock from his voice. Achi was the founder of SOS? How bizarre if the two of them would wind up meeting each other this way. Does he have something to do? But I guess that was the big falling out between them. So I think he went over there to try and win him back. Kano hadn't heard anything good about SOS since Achi had left them. If things ended in bad terms between him and the gang, getting them help might well be a lost cause. And even if Achi was able to gather some people up, how much would Kano and the others be able to trust them? It'll be alright, Hitomi said, as if sensing Kano's thoughts. I'm sure Achi will bring back some of his old friends. I'm sure he'll choose people he can count on. You really trust him, don't you? Yes, Hitomi said without hesitation. Then a blush came to her cheeks. Alright, then I'll trust him too. It would take about 10 minutes to get from Endo Electronics to the Scramble. Kano turned to Stanley. Let's plan to head out by 6:50. Stanley gave no reply. He had withdrawn to the edge of the room where he stood lost in thought, his expression uneasy. Kano decided to leave him alone for a bit. Taking a sheet of paper from one of the desks, he began drafting a plan for positioning Achi's reinforcements around the Scramble. Alright, there we go. In about 5 minutes, he had drawn up a little map of the optimal places to deploy the team. It included positions for as many as 20 people Achi might bring back. Kano turned around and surprised to find Stanley right behind him all of a sudden. The American looked haggard. Is something the matter? Kano asked. You needed to go to the Scramble without me. Oh, sus? What? Where's this coming from all of a sudden? Please, don't ask me to explain. Oh, you better fucking explain, bucko! Something else has come up, and I have to see to it. Sweat beat on Stanley's brow. Whatever had happened, Kano had no doubt it was something major. And almost certainly, it had been something to do with Alfred. Stanley, Kano said. Please tell me. We're past the point of keeping secrets. I mean, I don't think he's gonna say anything. They'd come this far together. Surely it was too late to get all tight-lipped now. I'm sorry. I wish I could tell you more. Stanley dropped his eyes. But he feels bad about it. Otherwise, he wouldn't, drop his eyes. Kano had a vague idea what Stanley was up to. He probably felt that he needed to keep things hidden, even from his own allies, in order to help keep Alfred in the dark. Or at least, that was Kano's guess. Unless he is Alfred. Alright, I understand, Kano said with resignation. Do what you have to do, and come back soon. With an apologetic look on his face, Stanley turned and hurried from the workroom. Sus.com. Kano glanced at his watch. It was coming up to 6:50. Pretty soon they'd have to head to the Scramble. But Achi still hadn't returned. We need to head out soon, he said to Hitomi. You said 6:50, she replied. There's still 2 more minutes to go. Kano let out a tiny sigh. He shared Hitomi's fervent hope that the reinforcements would come, but not her confidence. If Achi didn't reappear, Kano would be left to protect Hitomi all by himself, and to try to apprehend Alfred as well. Would he be able to pull it off if it came to that? He'd just have to trust himself to see things through on his own. He decided to head to the Scramble with Tomirode. No. Wait for Achi. Because we know how this is going to turn out. He'd never be able to do it on his own. It's just funny also how, like, right, with fewer character stories to be playing, there are fewer really not complex, but, like, difficult to make decisions. Like, we know to wait for Achi because we know he's going to come back, right? Like, we know to go to ask SOS for help instead of the police because we know that he shows up in Monikawa's story. It's like all kind of really falling in a very linear fashion now. Even though it's a choice, it's falling more linearly. He decided to wait for Achi, accepting that they'd be late. The clock kept up with his steady ticking. With each minuscule movement of the second hand, Kano felt the tightness growing in his chest. A minute passed, 2 minutes. Time was of the essence. They couldn't keep waiting any longer. Hitomi, I don't like having to do this, but we can't wait any longer. Seeing the look of determination on Kano's face, she gave a tiny, reluctant nod. So this will once again be broken by Achi. Seeing the look of determination, okay. Her shoulders began to tremble. Hitomi, I'll be alright, I'm just a little nervous, that's all. She had a right to be nervous. Alfred was after the antiviral that she had in her bloodsteam. Once he had it, Hitomi would become a liability and he would want to dispose of. And right now, the only person who could keep her safe was Kano. He clenched his jaw tight and tried to look confident. Please just try to relax. I'll protect you with my life if I have to. Protecting Hitomi is my job. Achi, you're back! I said I'd see you through to the very end, didn't I? Yeah, you did. It's the main theme. Or not the main theme, but the recap theme. Or the preview theme. Hitomi gazed back at Achi with grateful reassurance. Ahem. Kano cleared his throat softly. But Achi and Hitomi continued to stare earnestly at one another. Eventually, the tough-looking young man standing behind Achi spoke up. I've got 30. Will that be enough? Yeah, Kano-san, that'll be fine. More importantly, have you heard what we'll be doing yet? Catch the bad guy, keep Shibuya safe. Same old thing we always do. The guy flashed a grin. Susu was cute. You got it, Kano said. We'll be counting on you then. With 30-odd people at their disposal, they'd be able to encircle the meeting area, no problem. The preparations were all set. It was time to confront Alfred at last. Alright, detective, Achi shouted. Let's do this! Kano gave a firm nod. 9 minutes later, 6:59 p.m., Kano and the others were in a position around the Scramble. Also, I just want to point out, Kano and Achi are together. Who's keeping an eye on Maria's fucking story, by the way? Because Maria is with Tateno. And Kanan. It's like, neither of us are monitoring them. Just want to point that out real quick. It's weird. So either Tateno's sus or Kanan is sus. Something's gonna happen to Maria. They're not just gonna magically find her the cure, right? But also, if they don't manage to get in, we don't know what's going on right now. And like, if they don't manage to break in and then they go back to the Scramble and they're like, hey guys, what's up? And they link up again, we don't know what happened in that time. That's gonna be a huge, like, hole in, like, the sequence of events and, like, our knowledge. So there's gonna we're gonna have to find some way to fill that, or the game probably will. I'm very curious. 9 minutes later, 6:00 p.m., Kano and the others were in the position around the Scramble. Each subtle tick of the second hand was like a sharp prod to Kano's nerves. His whole body was stiff with tension. They could not let themselves fail. There's too much at stake. Here, now, hundreds of thousands of lives are on the line. Is this Kano's story ending? And we wrap up with Achi. So Achi gets the last hour? That'd be kind of sick. With Shibuya on lockdown, the area around the Scramble had been seized by panic, and there had been multiple traffic collisions. The sidewalks were crowded with scared people. Overturned cars and abandoned motorcycles clogged the streets. Amidst the chaos, emergency vehicles sped by at furious speeds. But the fire and emergency personnel, even the police, were short-handed, and the whole Shibuya had begun to look like a war zone. The main roads had been blocked to normal traffic, and trains weren't stopping at the stations. In effect, the city was in a state of complete shutdown. Kano glanced at his wristwatch. 6:59 p.m. in 10 seconds. In 11 seconds, 12 seconds, 13 seconds, 14 seconds. He scarcely remembered to breathe. Hitomi stood in front of the statue of Hachiko. She wasn't carrying an attaché case this time, but the moment what was otherwise a strange mirror of the stakeout at 10 o'clock this morning. She looked terrified. Kano couldn't blame her. The criminals weren't after some case full of money this time. This time they were out for blood. Her blood. Kano did a slow scan of the area. Achi was standing not too far away. His companions were strewn about here and there, carrying on as normal. Here in Shibuya, those guys fit right in with the crowd. And they had the area on Hitomi completely surrounded. Yet again, Kano looked at his wristwatch. 6:59 p.m. 35 seconds. 36, 37, 38, 39. He forced himself to take several deep breaths. He focused on the sound of his own heartbeat and exhaled until all the breath was expelled from his lungs. And then it all started. Kano's cell phone rang. I've got him. Stanley? It was Daisuke. The organ trafficker who devised the kidnapping. It's him. Where is he? Kano asked. Is he close by? I've got him on camera now. He's on the other side of the intersection. Kano looked across the scramble. There were so many people that it was hard to tell who was or wasn't suspicious. Can you describe him for me? The tall foreign guy, the one wearing glasses. The professor? A tall foreigner. Kano's eyes drifted over the crowd. Because the professor had glasses. Oh my god, it's the fucking professor! Oh my god. Oh my fucking god. Aha. There he was. Leland, that's his name, right? As he got closer, Kano's eyes went wide. This man was someone he'd met before. Leland Palmer. The lecturer from the English department at Hitomi Maria School. I fucking... what? Is he... Alfred? Palmer was walking towards Hitomi. Hitomi didn't seem to have noticed him yet. When Kano glanced back at his wristwatch, it was 7 p.m. on the dot. When Hitomi realized Palmer was approaching her, she was too stunned to react. He walked directly up to her, the corners of his mouth curling up into a smile. Hello, Hitomi, he said in English. How are you doing? Professor Palmer, what are you doing here? Hitomi's voice came out in an anxious squeak. Well, I'm here to take your blood, of course. This time he spoke Japanese, all with an easy fluency totally different from his usual manner of speech. I'm the one who injected you with the UA virus. Oh my god, in my head I thought this guy was sus, but we only saw him once, so I'm like, he can't be that important, right? We only encountered him like once or twice. Fuck! I should have said something about it though. I've been waiting so long for this opportunity to arise. It's been quite agonizing, you know, spending 6 months and more pretending to be a mild-mannered English lecturer. Professor, you're Alfred, aren't you? Let's get down to business, shall we? Neither of us has much time. Okay, but I doubt Alfred himself is at the intersection, right? He would send one of his lackeys. So, I have doubt that this professor is Alfred himself, but we'll see. He told me stiffen. Please, tell me the laboratory password. After I have your blood, this will only take a few seconds. I've got a device here that will make the extraction quite simple. No way. Password first. That would violate the terms we already negotiated. Hitomi and Palmer glared at one another. Alright, Hitomi said at last. Why don't you negotiate with Kanan instead? Kanan? Hitomi took her cell phone out and dialed. But the phone rang repeatedly, and Kanan did not pick up. Sus! What's going on? Hitomi's face went pale. Come on, Kanan. Kano, standing near enough to overhear their conversation, grew increasingly anxious as he watched the pair stare at the phone. Was this the right move? What was the right move here? Should we keep waiting? He had to hope talking to Kanan would work out. Kano waited for the call to go through. At this point, they couldn't count on Kanan. Kano rushed into action. We're taking action, bro. Kano rushed into action. Freeze! Kano drew his gun and trained it on Palmer. Nearby pedestrians scattered in fear. Seizing the moment, Achi darted in to protect Hitomi. Palmer let out a tiny sigh. Seer breaking the terms we agreed upon then. I don't negotiate with terrorists. Kano inched his way closer, his point of aim never wavering. Hitomi shouted, call Kanan again. Again, Hitomi dialed her cell phone. Palmer opened the attaché case he was carrying. One more move and I'll shoot. But the terrorist ignored the warning, producing a set of small glass vessels from the case. If you want to shoot me, then shoot me, he said. Assuming you don't mind this getting scattered about. Is that... Surely you don't need me to explain. Stanley was right. Alfred had weaponized the virus. Doing his best to conceal his horror, Kano tried to sound defiant. How can I even know that's real? We're gonna be ballsy. How can I even know that's real? Oh, what's going on? Oh, dear. Ah, his Inklings. Oh my god, the Inklings are attacking. Oh my god, it's the sound of 1,000 Inklings. Oh, hello, Cretan! Thank you for the raid. Hello, Evie Pix. How's it going? Hello, Gears of Link. Hello, everyone. Oh my gosh, now that the Inklings have finally shut the fuck up. Sorry. Okay, yeah, they did shut up. But hello, Gustav Link, hello. Done with you. Done with you. I like it. Hello, General Grigas. Hello, Cretan. Thank you for the raid. How's everyone doing today? How was your stream, Cretan? What were you playing? Welcome, everyone to Shibuya Scramble. You're actually here for the exciting conclusion of a very narrative-driven game, so hopefully no one ever plans to play this game in the chat right now, at least. If you do, I do advise that you click off. I've turned very Scottish suddenly. But how's everyone doing today? But thank you for the raid, Cretan. It was good. We played Legend of Zelda, the first one, and then Link to the Past, and then I talked for a while. Ooh, Link to the Past. That's no, that's not. Okay, that's not the new remake. The Link's Awakening. I got it mixed up, but I don't think I've ever played Link to the Past. How is it good? Ah! Zoinks! I just knocked I like yeeted my chapstick across the room because I went to reach for my cup of water and slapped the chapstick. But also, it is one of my favorites. Lit. I might have to give it a play then, because you know me, I do like to stream me my Zelda games. It's the SNES one. Yeah, I would probably have to like. Are you emulating it? I mean, how else would you be playing it on stream? But, yes, once again, just gonna do a quick spoiler warning. I don't know if, anyone here is planning on playing Shibuya Scramble, but if you are, I would strongly advise you click off this stream right now because we are literally at the very end of the game, so we got some major spoilers coming up. I have the Nintendo Plus thing. Oh, right! I forgot that they have it on the online subscription now. That's cool. But anyway, Lark, thank you for the Lark, and thank you for the read. Everyone who's not already following Cretan, please go give them a big fat follow. I've never heard of it, so let's do this. All right. Let me just do a quick recap for everyone who's joining in anew. So this is a mystery text adventure. So it starts right with oh god, how am I supposed to even recount how we got here, honestly? So the story starts with two girls, main characters, the twins. There's Hitomi and Maria Osawa, and Maria got kidnapped. And so the story starts with Hitomi basically waiting at Shibuya Scramble in Tokyo, the big crossing, with a big suitcase of money, right, as ransom for her to get her sister back. And then the entire story explodes into a fuck ton of like cultish stuff, honestly. So the story right now, well, not right now, but the story overall follows 5 different characters. We've already concluded 3 character stories, so all we have left is 2. But there's Kano, the classic detective. We have Minorikawa, the nosy journalist. We have Osawa, who is the parents, the father of the twins, not the parents. We have Maria, which is the spoiler, right? We follow her. She was the one that was kidnapped. But in the beginning, she's stuck in a cat suit, so we don't know it's her. That sounds really sus. She's not a furry. It's because for a job she was working. And then we're following Achi, who is with the other twin, Hitomi, protecting her because she didn't hand over the ransom case money, and now all the bad guys are chasing her. So Achi just met up with her randomly and is protecting her. Huh? It's a lot. Yeah, honestly, I wonder how we got here, but I mean, basically the way the game works is you play each character's storyline and you move 1 hour at a time. So like you see on the left side, it has timestamps, and then right now like we're on Kano's storyline. So you shift between storylines and then you play all 5 and then you move on for the hour and then you move on to the next hour. And it is a branching game, so there are consequential choices. I think, how do we see how many bad endings we've gotten? We've already gotten a lot of bad endings, lol. I know it shows it in the loading screen, but I don't know how to see it from here. Okay. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, no. That's how I feel trying to explain this game. But the bigger plot of the game is, right, the father of the twins, he's a virologist, and he developed some sort of vaccine for a very deadly virus. And so basically now, Hitomi, one of the twins, has the cure for the virus injected in her blood. So people are trying to get her to get the cure from her. Whereas Maria, the other twin, has actually been infected with it, and they can't actually access the cure because it's locked away and they don't know the password for the lab it's in. Yeah, so this is the negotiation going on right now. This is the bad guy coming to be like, give me Hitomi's blood. And they're like, no, we're not giving you anything unless you give us the password so we can save Maria. That was like the worst explanation I could have possibly given. Life Virus, if you're here, if you have a better way to explain this, help a brother out, but that's where we're at right now. You fix, I don't blame you if you're like, what the fuck is going on at all. But we keep calm and carry on. Indeed. This could all be fake. Would you care to test that theory? Palmer flashed a coy smile. Holding out his fistful of vials, he began to tilt them slowly back and forth, letting them clink against each other. They were fake. No, maybe they were real. Kano couldn't quite decide. You're trying to explain 30 hours of gameplay in 30 seconds. It's pretty impossible. Play the game. Are you part of the are you advertising? I mean, obviously at this point, it's good. Money back guaranteed. The problem is, right? They're getting mad spoilers here, bro. They're watching the end of the game no matter what. Kano couldn't quite decide. And he couldn't take any rash action if there was even the possibility they were the real thing. Did you come here to carry out a suicide attack, Mr. Alfred? Hardly. I have no desire to die here. All I want is to get a little bit of the girl's blood and then go quietly on my way. But that all depends on you, doesn't it? His face was overflowing with confidence. Kano couldn't shake the feeling that something was off here. Something about this man's demeanor hinted at something. Well then, what will it be? Palmer continued. Will you condemn the people of Shibuya to death? Cursing inwardly, Kano lowered his gun. Palmer flashed a triumphant grin, then resumed his stroll towards Hitomi. She stood frozen on the spot. Suzuma! The shout had come from Achi. Get this chump! In an instant, a dozen members of SOS headed towards Palmer from all sides. Tough luck, pal, Suzume said. Turns out we're not actually innocent bystanders. Now it's his turn to grin. You're completely surrounded. Give up and tell us the password now. Password. And just for the record, we ain't scared of no virus. The tough-looking young man radiated bravado. Without hesitation, they closed in around the kidnapper. Surrounded. You certainly don't look like the police. Palmer cast a bemused glance around himself. You're right about that, Achi said. I mean, just take a look. I gathered up a bunch of people who love Shibuya more than their own lives in order to take your ass down. He kept Hikomi shielded behind him while he spoke. There's no escape, he declared. You've lost. Lost? Me? It sure doesn't look like you're gonna get away. Palmer grimaced at Achi's words. I see. Then it appears our negotiations are at a close. And then he slams him on the ground smoke bomb style. Enough of the high and mighty act. Susumu stomped aggressively towards Palmer. Hey, Kano snapped. Easy now. They couldn't risk a scuffle sending the virus crashing onto the ground. What a shame. Palmer swung his right arm up high. Oh shit. Uh-oh. 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 Everyone watched in dismay as his hand shot up. The vials he'd been holding sailed upward against the backdrop of the evening sky. Look out! Achi shouted. Catch him! Catch him! Gotta catch 'em all! Okay, bad ending, I get it. A tremendous blast blew Kano off his feet. As he crashed to the pavement, searing pain shot through his entire body. He knew at once that a bomb had gone off. But why? It didn't make any sense. Alfred had no intention of carrying out a suicidal terror attack. Kano was certain of that. If that had been his intent, he could have just done that so at any time, without going through the trouble of putting on this whole charade. Was there some reason that this guy would blow himself up under these circumstances at this specific moment? As he lay dying, Kano had a thought. Could it be? Had Stanley not come to the scramble because he knew this? Stanley is a jump? What? We get to play Stanley? Oh my god! Oh my god! Now that's a twist. Also, I'd apologize if you just heard me tearing out a sheet of paper just now. There's one thing I want to write down. We get to play Stanley, though! Okay, let's handle the Achi jumps real quick. No, there should be one before this. Oh no, I guess that's it. Seizing the moment, Achi darted in to protect Hitomi. Was this guy Alfred? The man arrived in front of Hitomi and began speaking to her. Hitomi, Maria, even Achi's father. This must be the guy who's responsible for everything. Achi felt a pressing urge to flatten him right then and there. Still, he knew he couldn't blow his cover until Kano gave the signal. Suppressing his raw emotions, he readied himself for action. He hurt me, and I'll hurt him back. That bill is gonna come due. The protecting Hitomi has to come first. I can't let anything happen to her. I have to set aside my hatred. Right now I should focus on catching this guy. Don't instigate anything. I have to set aside my hatred. Right now, I just need to focus on catching this guy. Don't instigate anything. Why hasn't it happened yet? Why hasn't Kano given the signal? Freeze! Suddenly, Kano rushed forward, his gun drawn. Ignoring the pain in his leg, Achi dashed for Hitomi as fast as he could. He cut in between Kano and Alfred, quickly pulling Hitomi out of danger. Hitomi, Kano shouted, call Kanan again. Shielded by Achi now, she brought up her cell phone and dialed the number. But some time passed and there was no answer. Had there been some kind of trouble on Kanan's end? Looking increasingly worried, Hitomi tried calling several more times. Then Alfred withdrew some strange vials from the attaché case he'd brought. Kano's face wavered with alarm. This had to be the terrorist trump card, then. Kano and Alfred were having some sort of debate. Achi couldn't hear the specifics, but tensions were clearly running high. Kano hesitantly lowered his gun. Where's the keep out for Kano? Oh, there's no keep out, okay. Alfred flashed confident grin. Looks like it's time for our trump card. Susumu! Achi shouted at the top of his lungs. At his signal, the gang emerged from the crowd en masse to let Alfred in. Surrounded? Now the terrorist was visibly at loss. You certainly don't look like the police. You're right about that, Achi said. I mean, just take a look. I gathered up a bunch of people who love Shibuya more than their own lives in order to take your ass down. As he spoke, he made sure to keep Hitomi shielded behind him. The pain in his leg was getting worse and worse, but he tried his utmost to not let it show. There's no escape, he declared. You've lost. Lost? Me? Well, it sure doesn't look like you're gonna get away. Alfred grimaced at Achi's words. I see. Then it appears our negotiations are at a close. Why did he still seem so confident? Something definitely didn't feel right. This is just a bluff. He knows he can't get away. He really doesn't care if he survives. He knows he can't get away. His only chance to be able to try and spread the virus around and then take off while everyone was distracted, which meant they just need to grab the guy and be done with it. Enough of the high and mighty axe, Susumu shouted. Evidently, he shared Achi's opinion. He began to stomp towards Alfred, but he didn't reach him in time. The vials of Alfred's hands went sailing high into the air. Look out! Catch him! Catch him! Achi gestured for his comrades to fan across the open space. Then out of nowhere, a huge explosion blew Achi clean off his feet. His eardrums ruptured and his world was engulfed in an eerie silence, as if time had stopped. As he lay crumpled on the pavement, the one thing that still rang in his ears was the tinkling of glass as countless vials smashed on the concrete. Right. Okay, so obviously we need Stanley, but how do we get that? I know we've played up until getting to the scramble correctly, so let's try this one more time. He had to hope talking with Kanan would work out. Kanan waited for the call to go through. So that does change the ending. But Kanan never answered. Had something happened to her in Tateno? Kanan felt his heart pounding. Now then, shall I take what I came here for? Talbot took a step closer to Hitomi. Kanan reacted instinctively. Freeze! He drew his gun and trained it on the criminal. Nearby pedestrians scattered in fear. You can't let that loose here. You can't let that loose here. And why is that? Because if you do, you'll be infected too. It's true. But so will all the innocent bystanders around us. A thin smile crawled across Palmer's face. Did you come here to carry out a suicide attack, Mr. Alfred? Hardly. I have no desire to die here. How do I unlock Stanley? What? did the 1720 block. So I kind of doubt that Achi will be able to have a say in this. Let's just check real quick. I don't think so. Maybe we have to go back to, maybe there is probably something in before we went to this Scramble. This doesn't feel really consequential because either way it says I understand, did you have to come back soon? I mean, it impacts the like the relationship between them, right? This one is distrust, this one's trust. Fuck it, we trust Stanley. Stanley's a goon, I believe in him. I understand, do what you have to do and come back soon. I'm sorry, I wish I could tell you more. It's alright, I'll find a way to get by. Kinda had a vague idea of what Stanley was up to. He probably felt he needed to keep things hidden from his... Okay. Yes, that literally didn't change anything. Wait. Oh, it did! I can't... Normally, if changing an option didn't change anything, I can't scroll. Oh, so something did change. Something did change. What? There's no ordinary opponent they were up against. Keeping secrets, even among friends, wasn't necessarily a bad call. Kano, promise me one thing. What's that? Once this is all over, you'll go have a beer. Oh my god, they're buddies! Kano couldn't help but smile. That's a promise now, remember. And with that, Stanley hurried out of the workroom. The promise between these two made now just mirrors another one made by a certain pair of brothers in the past. Once it's all tidied up, I'm gonna need a drink. Let's you and me have a beer together. This is what the younger brother said, and the older brother still feels the pain of the promise going unfulfilled. So Stanley's an older brother. Is this... We get to play Stanley? Let's fucking... Oh. I got so excited. How do I get Stanley? I'm like, gassed. Dude. Oh, so from here, everything is the same. How do I get Stanley's story? Where is he? I can't jump to him, though. Why? Let me play! I mean, I feel like I need to play Stanley's stories in order to to get Kano and Achi out of the bad ending. Stanley's probably stops the bomb, because the bomb is separate from the, how do you say, the vials being dropped, I think. Right? Well, yeah, because the bomb goes first, and then the vials hit the ground. Like, that's what we heard in Achi's ending. Man. Does this mean we can unlock Kanan as playable or Tateno? Because they're the ones that went, or... Okay, Maria's story is over, so we don't, what, do we reopen Maria's story? I don't think so. If we can unlock Stanley's, we can probably unlock Kanan and or Tateno's. So let's see how to fix... where's the choice that lets Tateno leave? Maybe if we say something different to him then. Because we chose to trust Stanley and that changed it. Fuck it, we change everything. Kano still wanted to express his regret how things had turned out for his idol. You really are a terrible policeman, you know? Tateno gave him a bare hint of a smile, then headed out of the room. As Kano watched him go, he realized he really didn't have anything to say. Wait, but the second choice disappeared. Hold up. There's a second choice. The one about if we, like, say be safe out there, or we salute him. That one. Kano did his best to quash his emotions. Then gave a slight nod and he headed out the door. Detective Tateno! Just before the older man disappeared. Kano gave him a silent salute. The breach of protocol to salute while in plain clothes without his cap. Still, it was the best way he had to let Tateno know how he felt. Like the rest of you. We can make this jump! This is probably how we unlock Stanley. Stanley is probably linked with Tateno somehow. Holy fuck, these are some very obscure choices, dude. Kyoso Tateno gingerly flexed his right elbow. He was still a little sore, but it shouldn't interfere with his ability to drive. Does that hurt? Asked the girl called Kanan. No. I'm alright. Good thing I didn't kill you, she said, her tone matter of fact. You ought to thank that younger detective. If you hadn't stopped me, you wouldn't be here right now. Is that right? Tateno looked over at Kano. He was talking to Achi and the others about something. The last time Tateno Hazinachi had been back at Katone's wake, he felt a strong surge of emotion, seeing how the boy had grown into a fine young man. Are you sure you don't mind driving? Kanan's voice snapped Tateno back into the moment. Yes, it won't be a problem. Back when she'd attacked him on that rooftop, she moved too quickly for him to even get a glimpse of her face. Why she always looked mad? Now that they were able to get a look at her, he was shocked by how young she was. And yet there was a cold gleam in her eyes, a glitter of awareness with no trace of emotion behind it whatsoever. In his long career as a detective, Tateno had seen eyes like that before. It was a look he knew well. The look of someone who had killed and had done so many times. I'm so sorry about all this. Please look after my sister, Hitomi said. She bowed deeply. No, I'm the one who should apologize. Whoa, okay. I just wanted to see what it looked like. I'm the one who should apologize. Tateno would have liked to go on to say that helping now was the least he could do to atone for what he'd done earlier, but he stopped himself there. Nothing could say to Hitomi Osawa would possibly earn her forgiveness. Silently, Tateno lowered his head. His subsequent actions would have to make up for his crimes. So Tateno's not the bad guy, then. He had to hope that this was possible. Kanan, you look after my sister, too. Hitomi bowed once more. You two know each other? Tateno looked at the two girls in surprise. Kanan is my sister's friend, Hitomi said. I met her for the first time just today. What strange series of events could have transpired for Maria and Kanan to wind up as friends? Tateno felt a prickle of curiosity, but now was not the time for that conversation. Daisuke reappeared. He had gone to fetch his car keys. You know where it's parked, yeah? He asked. Same as back in the day? That's right. Over where we always hung out with Kotone back in grade school. All at once, Tateno was hit with a surge of childhood memories. The sky was piercing blue. The droning of cicadas echoed in his ears. A refreshing breeze brought intermittent respite from the heat. During summer vacation, they spent their days here in the parking lot behind Daisuke's house. As Tateno and Daisuke played near the stairs at the side of the lot, the blazing sun beating down on them, Tony would always come along with some iced barley tea for them. Aww. The two boys would race to see who could drink theirs up the fastest. The cold and fragrant tea flowed down their flowed down their welcoming throats. Most of the time, it was Tateno who would finish first. Daisuke would often end up choking and spitting his out breath. Kotone would flash him a motherly and sympathetic smile. Then Daisuke would grin back at her and sheepishly fuss with his hair. That could have been nearly 40 years ago, but Tateno could envision their smiles as vividly now as ever. They were his only fond memories of his childhood. Tateno took the keys from Daisuke, clutching them firmly in his fists. Alright, he said, we'll be back. He lifted up Maria and with Kanan supporting her on the other side, began to head for the door. Then Kano called out to him. Detective Tateno. There was a look of sadness in the younger man's face. Don't let yourself become a detective like me. Tateno had the words right on the tip of his tongue, but he swallowed them back down. It suddenly seemed pretty petty to trivialize the aspirations Kano had held for so long. Once Maria's safe, I'll turn myself in. And instead would simply be a criminal. But despite the failures that had brought him to this position, nothing he had said up until now had been a lie. Of that much he could be proud. Never lose sight of what you're supposed to protect. Ever. He could at least try to be the detective Kano had admired until the very end. As Tateno left the room, Kano saluted him crisply. Ordinarily, a detective wouldn't salute in the plainclothes or without his cap. The little breach of etiquette showed all more clearly how Kano felt. If Tateno hadn't been holding Maria up, he would have returned the gesture. Leaving Endo Electronics, Tateno and Kanan carried Maria up a hectic Dogenzaka. The parking lot was a lot less than a minute away by foot. Before long, however, they found their way blocked by a veritable wall of people. Is that Kuze? It was a riot squad, with Kuze at the head. Dr. Kuze, Tateno, what are you planning on doing with that girl? What are you planning on doing with her? I already informed Kano that she's to be put under quarantine. If she's allowed to remain free, all of Shibuya will be endangered. Kanan took a step forward. Tateno could sense that she was about to move in for the kill. Easy now, he said softly. Wait. As skilled as Kanan was, she was no match for an entire armed police squad. I'm not going to take all of them on, she murmured. I'm just going to take the man in charge hostage. Tateno swallowed. Capture Kuze and then run off? It could work. Considering the time limit they were facing, he knew that they had to find some way to force their way through here. Still, given how far they still had to go to reach the laboratory, he wanted to avoid direct conflict as much as possible. Give me 1 minute. No, just 30 seconds. Tateno turned and stared at Kuze. The two had known each other since their rookie days. Director Kuze, tell me, what is it that you believe in? What do I believe in? Yes, weren't you always the one who said that you need to put faith in your subordinates no matter what? Well, yes. That's right. Because his eyes wavered ever so slightly. In that case, put your faith in me. No, put your faith in Kunnel. In Kunnel? He believes that saving Maria will help us save Shibuya. He's doing everything he can to make that happen. Kuze's lips curled in a wry grin. That sounds like Kunnel, alright. Always thinking in such simple terms. Usually the simple answer is the right one, sir. True. People like you and me overthink things and make them more complicated than they need to be. True. Just consider for a moment. Will putting Muriosawa under quarantine clear up this case? No, it won't. So long as we don't know how she was infected with the virus, we can't rule out the possibility that other people have been infected as well. Tateno kept his eyes locked on Kuze's. Dr. Kuze, right now what we need to do more than anything is get our hands on the antiviral drug. We need to be helping Kunnel. Please, sir. Kuze furrowed his brow in thought for a few moments, then shook his head. Tateno, buddy, come on, I can't do that. You gotta understand the position I'm in. The director's voice squeaked into a childish register, bruh. Kanan narrowed her eyes. She's just like, this is dumb fuck. Kanan, what's this guy's deal? She whispered. It's, well, hard to explain. When his voice gets like that, it means he's being completely serious. We're gonna have to break through by force. He's confused. Now is their chance to make a run for it. He was confused. Now is their chance to make a run for it. Tateno signaled with his eyes to Kanan, then got ready to sprint past Kuze and his team. He didn't get a chance to, though. Ugh! Suddenly, Kuze let out a pained yelp. Then, as Tateno watched in surprise, he proceeded to collapse onto the pavement. Arr, it hurts! I've been infected with the virus, too? The riot squad immediately rushed to the director's side. As Tateno stood there dumbstruck, Kuze secretly flashed him a knowing wink. Oh! Clever. What? That was a terrible performance, Kanan muttered. Yeah, but it was a tour de force as far as I'm concerned. Inwardly, Tateno gave his boss a nod of respect. Slipping past the riot squad, he and Kanan headed for the parking lot. Several members of Kuze's team hurried after them. Don't follow them, Kuze cried out as he writhed on the ground. Everyone stay back! If you get too close to Muriosawa, you'll be infected as well. The riot squad stopped in their tracks. Tateno and Kanan took the opportunity to hurry out of sight. Darting through some narrow alleyways, they arrived at the parking lot. But some of the old air of nostalgia still lingered. There it is. He spotted the minivan with Endo Electronics written on the side. Tateno gently laid Maria on the back seat. She was still apparently unconscious. Tateno hit the gas and sped off. How far is it to the lab? Kanan asked. Normally it would take about 15 minutes, but this traffic, it's hard to say. Tateno avoided the stop and go up Dogonzaka, taking side streets as he headed down to Shibuya Station. Once they'd re-emerged in the main thoroughfare, however, he spotted a checkpoint set up ahead. Barricades and armored vehicles were blocking the road. The scale of the security effort showed just how grave the situation truly was. Tateno hit the brakes. What do we do? Kanan spoke without taking her eyes off the barricade ahead. They'd talk their way through. They'd have to find another way around. They'd have to plow on through. They'd talk their way through. Wait here, I'm gonna try something. What are you gonna do? A little bit of persuasion. Tateno reached for the door handle, but Kanan stopped him. Don't, she said, keeping her eyes fixed forward. You'll just be wasting your time. Tateno didn't get to finish his thought. A patrol car came roaming out of a nearby side road. What the? The police cruiser sped past the minivan and cut to the left, turning to head right toward the roadblock. Crashing into the barricade, it plowed on through, not stopping until it slowed up to the curb beyond. Who dead? The car's impact made enough space for another vehicle to slip on through its wake. The minivan barreled through the checkpoint. Tateno wondered who in the world had been driving the cruiser. Stanley? Tateno's phone rang as he picked up as he sped onward. Were you able to break through safely? It was the voice of Detective Kajiwara! Tateno had thought he was at the Osawa residence. Let's fucking go! The patrol car just now. Was that you? A call came in from Task Force HQ saying that Kano had found Maria. Figured maybe Kano was planning on taking her to Okoshi Pharmaceutical, and so I thought he'd need to make his way through one of the checkpoints here. But the fact that it's you, Detective Tateno, ha! Now that was quite unexpected. He let out a weak chuckle. Kajiwara, are you hurt? Oh my god, is Kajiwara gonna die? Don't worry about me. Please just help Maria. I made a promise to help to her father that I'd save his daughter no matter what. No, Kajiwara can't die. Tateno could hear the energy draining from Kajiwara's voice. Understood. I'll keep that promise for you then. Thank you. The line went dead. No way! No way Kajiwara's dead! No! Then he crashed headlong through the barrier. There was no way he'd come out of that uninjured. I'm sorry, Kajiwara, Tateno said to himself under his breath. Thank you. He bit his lip, then stepped hard onto the gas again. Oh shit! Alright. Things are getting real spicy. I am, however, out of water. So, I'm going to take this moment of things getting spicy to take a 2-minute water break, grab some water, and BRB! Ah! I'm back with 2 more cups of water and vengeance and a hydrate. Shobi. Alright. Eskedit. Let's see. How can we break this Tateno jump? Or keep out? I'm assuming it's Stanley, because, right, it's definitely nowhere in the main plot line. Or not main plot line, but, like, you know, we didn't have any jumps here, right? We never saw them. Ooh, something changed in Kano's story. Oh, okay. We need to finish playing this again one more time. Even after Tateno disappeared from view, Kano remained for a long time at attention, his fingertips pressed to his temple. He squeezed his eyes shut, but the tears he'd been holding down... Oh, but still the tears he'd been holding back poured down his cheeks. Oh. So did that change anything else in the Kano story? Okay, no. We still can't make this jump. Why? ¿Por qué? Why? Oh, we can now. So I guess we just need to fix that Tateno. Jack. I guess we did need to play Tateno first then. It was 6 o'clock p.m. Alfred had contacted a motley team at Endo Electronics, and the situation had immediately deteriorated. But the new developments also provided them with one big chance. A chance that Alfred might appear in person at long last. You did fine. Jack Stanley set his hand on Kano's shoulder. A weak smile came to the detective's face. Stanley paused, unexpectedly moved. For that one moment, he saw in Kano the image of his younger brother. Frank! What a... Jack, you have to get everyone to a safe place right away! Frank's nervous shout echoed through the hotel lobby. Stanley's younger brother was a member of the bomb and arson squad. That was 2 years ago. CIA had obtained intel that Alfred was targeting a high-class hotel in Chicago for a terror attack. Stanley and his team had searched the hotel interior and discovered the bomb set inside a large planter. When Frank arrived at the scene and saw the explosive, his expression grew grim. The detonation trigger is set in the worst possible place. It's going to be a bastard to remove. In that case, you need to get out of here too, Frank, Stanley said. No, I need to make sure I can figure out how this thing is set up so the disposal units know what to do when they get here. I'll be alright. You can probably see it from back there. Stanley could see the small explosive from where he stood. It was held in place by several screws. 30-minute mark. The timer had just ticked down past the 30-minute mark. There's plenty of time left for the disposal guys to get here. Jack, I need you to help finish evacuating the building. There are a lot of people who haven't gotten out yet. But Stanley hesitated. From a cold and logical perspective, Frank was right. He had a job to do, and if Stanley listened to his personal feelings and tried to usher his brother out of there, a lot of innocent people might die. Alright, he said. I understand. Something as simple as dry ice, we could just freeze this thing. Dry ice, huh? I don't suppose ice cream would do the trick. That'd be a waste of ice cream. You'd be better off just eating it. True. Of course, even dry ice would be a long shot in place of actual liquid nitrogen. The brothers looked at one another for a moment. The tension dissolved into laughter. Alright, I'll be back. Hey, Jack? Once this is all tidied up, I'm gonna need a drink. Let's you and me have a beer together. Sure. You got it. Stanley headed for the hotel lobby, which was still overflowing with guests. You made the right choice here. Stanley gave Kano a thump on his back, and the detective cracked a tiny grin. What about my choice, though? Debating his own next move, Stanley stepped away from the others and took out his cell phone. He made a call to his superior, Gordon. Gordon's such a bad guy name. It's me, he said. What's the situation? I hear the Japanese police want to put Maria Osawa under quarantine. I'm assuming that's on your orders, sir? It is. There are too many important people in Shibuya. We can't allow that virus to get loose. Besides, now that we know Alfred is after Hitomi Osawa, there's no reason to leave Maria at large any longer. If you put Maria Osawa under quarantine, she is going to die. I know that, but there will be far fewer victims as a result. Gordon's words made something inside Stanley snap. In that moment, he lost any inclination to report that he was with Maria. Failure to do so would be a dereliction. We keep coming across, that's like the third time we've come across this word, and I still don't know how to pronounce it, of duty on his part. He knew that well enough. Like, I understand that it's like, you know, disobedience and, what's the word? It's almost like, desertion. But, fuck it, I'm not looking it up. He knew it, but the fact that he couldn't overcome his revulsion at Gordon's callous attitude towards Maria. Victims are still victims, he said. What was that? Nothing, sir. I'll continue my operation to apprehend Alfred. Beep. Stanley hung up the phone. He didn't care if his superiors took action against him once this was all over. They intended to sacrifice one person in order to save the lives of countless more. From a purely objective standpoint, this was the right call. But what if that person was a loved one? What would they have done then? The dilemma gnawed at the back of Stanley's mind. He couldn't shake the feeling that it was wrong to just accept the lesser of two evils, to sacrifice an innocent for the greater good. No, damn it. He would save that one life and then save the lives of many. Stanley's a beast! Okay, I'm no longer sus of Stanley. He needed to find a way to avoid the so-called easy way out, no matter what it took. So here's the thing, though. The playable characters are not gonna be the villains, I think, right? Because we can see into their internal monologue, unless they're lying to themselves. So Stanley now has ruled himself out as the bad guy. He wasn't about to add a second big regret to his life. Not this time. Saving Maria was the right thing to do. His judgment wasn't wrong. Of that, he was sure. He reaffirmed to himself that inwardly over and over. Kano was watching Tateno prepare to depart. The group had put together a reasonable plan of action. Tateno and Kanan would head to the lab with Maria and attempt to get the antiviral for her. Stanley would accompany Kano and others to the Scramble to apprehend Alfred. It was a two-pronged plan of attack. Still, could they really count on things going as smoothly as Kanan had suggested? Stanley thought back on her earlier words. Once Alfred has made the contact with Hitomi, call my cell phone. I have plenty of information Alfred might want to bargain for. I can negotiate with him directly. So why didn't she answer? That meant that getting the password hinged on whatever deal they struck. What sort of things might Alfred request in exchange? Stanley cast a thoughtful look at Kanan. She was helping Tateno carry Maria out of their room. Stanley doubted she'd answer if he asked just what her bargaining chips were. He held his tongue, watching as she left with the others. Whatever else happened, he needed to focus on capturing Alfred. He glanced at the monitor displays in the workroom. The disembodied sound of Alfred's voice from earlier crept back into his mind. I will appear at the rendezvous in person. After all, wouldn't do for the star of the show to miss the final curtain. Oh, so is Palmer actually the real Alfred? Those words notwithstanding, it seemed absurd that Alfred would actually show up in the flesh. I agree. Nationality, age, sex, so much about the terrorist mastermind was shrouded in mystery. Why would someone who had hidden so well for so long reveal their true identity? Exactly, true. And yet Alfred had gone out of his way to claim that was precisely what was about to happen. It almost seemed like he'd made turning up in person a major selling point of the deal. I'm looking forward to meeting all of you then. There was no doubt about it. Alfred wanted them to expect him on site and in person. So why would that be? He's using himself as bait to lure me and Kanan out. This was a near-perfect opportunity to wipe out the two people who were gunning for him the most. That being the case, how might he attempt to kill me once I'm at the Scramble? Stanley felt a sudden flash of insight. No. Something was off here. His thought process was running well, each deduction logically following from the last. I agree with this guy. But at a time like this could be a very dangerous thing. Alfred might as well anticipated where his logic would lead. Stanley needed to assume that any clue he thought he'd found was something Alfred had left behind on purpose. So maybe the suggestion that their target would come to the scene was a different kind of trap. At the risk of sending themselves in circles, Stanley decided to rethink the whole case from the ground up. What was the single strangest part of this whole thing? There we go. Why had Alfred put an amateur like Daisuke Endo in charge of the kidnapping? Sure, being able to get a heart for his daughter gave Daisuke a strong incentive, but there was still a reason why he'd been chosen. If the kidnapping had failed, what would have happened then? Of course, this was Alfred they were dealing with. Maybe the possibility of failure was somehow part of the plan. Hell, Daisuke had managed to accidentally kidnap Maria instead of Hitomi, hadn't he? If Alfred had gone with a professional, that sort of mix-up would have never happened. And yet, even if that degree of uncertainty were acceptable or even desirable, using Daisuke seemed like far too big a risk. There must be some other motive for bringing in Daisuke into the plan. Of course, advantage. Using Daisuke must have provided some important advantage that outweighed his flaws, like the security cameras. It was the only thing that made sense, which made the reason Alfred had Daisuke carry out the kidnapping was to create an alibi, to keep his true identity secret, to carry out some other objective. He'd set up the kidnapping, devised the ransom relay, and kept the full attention of the police on that. All the while, Alfred himself was working towards his true goal, getting Hitomi's blood, which meant Daisuke kidnapping Maria by mistake had in fact been a misstep. And that was why, in the end, Alfred had proposed trading the password for Hitomi's blood. Could that really be it? Stanley decided to take it up with the man himself. Mr. Endo, let me ask you something. Do you know Hitomi had a twin sister before kidnapping? I didn't know. So when did you find out? After I'd had Maria kidnapped, the organ trafficker took one look at her and said I had the wrong girl. Said I was supposed to be abducted the younger one. He never mentioned Hitomi having a twin sister before it started? No, if I'd known, I'd been a lot more careful. Alfred had certainly known the Yozawa girls were twins, but despite the added risk that the fact implied, he hadn't told Daisuke. There was only one logical conclusion. Daisuke's mistake hadn't been an accident. Alfred had intended for the wrong sister to get kidnapped. By using an amateur, Alfred had set up the police to write Daisuke's kidnapping off as the wrong target as a simple misstep. Had Daisuke been brought in simply in the name of camouflage? Why? Alfred was after Hitomi's blood. Daisuke was after Hitomi's heart. They both wanted the same thing, so why target Maria instead? Stanley's train of logic had run out of steam again. Still, he was sure he was on the right track. He just needed to keep following till he found out where the track would lead. Where's the storeroom where you were keeping Maria? He asked. Daisuke hung his head. It's out behind the shop. Why do you ask? Would you mind showing me? There's something I'd like to check. At this point, he needed to go back over everything, right from the beginning. He followed Daisuke to the storeroom. Speaking of this storeroom, Daisuke said as they were walking to the back part of the building. There's something I've been wondering about. Just how did Maria manage to escape in the first place? You're certain you locked her in? Stanley asked. Daisuke nodded. At 8 o'clock this morning, the organ trafficker came by to check up on her. I made sure to lock the place back up after he left. I see. That visit must have been when Maria was injected with the UA virus. It makes sense. Based on our working timeline of when we expect her to go symptomatic. When they got to the storeroom, they spotted the broken padlock that had held it shut lying on the ground. Whatever. Misread it all. Daisuke picked it up and opened the storeroom door. Look at this mess. It was obvious immediately that merchandise had been stolen. Maria did this, Daisuke said. Maybe some thieves broke in? He made a quick inspection, assessing what had been taken. Some digital cameras and laptop computers are missing. This looks like the work of some local thugs. This kind of thing has happened to me a few times before. Daisuke let out a sigh of exasperation. Stanley, meanwhile, was carefully looking around the storeroom. Where did you have Mario-sawa? He asked. Behind those cardboard boxes. The boxes he indicated were piled high, closing off one corner of the room. If Maria were unconscious behind them, the burglars might well have never noticed her. So Maria was able to escape from the storm thanks to burglars breaking the lock, Stanley mused. Just what impact had that stroke of misfortune had on Alfred's plan, he wondered. What had Alfred planned to do with Maria if nobody had broken in? He was going to kill her. He was going to trade her for Hitomi. He was going to release her at some later time. Since he'd gone through the trouble of infecting her with the virus, it only made sense, and Stanley could only think of one reason to release an infected Maria. To turn Shibuya into ground zero for a pandemic that would sweep through all of Tokyo. A virus with a mortality rate of 100% would have spread through the region before anyone even realized it. It would be impossible to even calculate the scope of such a disaster. First, he would run a circuit around the Yamanote line, and then if any of the infected happened to head towards the airport, either Haneda or Narita, the virus would spread throughout Japan and the rest of the world in a matter of hours. But that hadn't come to pass. They'd managed to secure Maria before she could develop symptoms and become infectious. Is that because we were better than Alfred? No, that can't be it. Alfred wasn't the sort to commit such indiscriminate acts of terror. As it was likely the threat of the infection spreading, horrific as it was likely just to hide some other scheme. But then, what was the ultimate goal? But then, Stanley still didn't have enough clues to go on. Stanley made his way behind a stack of cardboard boxes. He spotted something that had fallen on the floor. It was a cell phone. Next to it was a woman's handbag. Stanley unzipped it. It held a jumble of makeup, tissues, and other personal effects, but nothing at all unusual. Is that Maria's cell phone? If he's going to find any clues here, it's probably going to have to be from the cell phone. He tried turning it on. There's no response. It appeared to be broken. Let me see that, Daisuke said from behind him. I'll see if I can fix it. Do you think you can? Stanley asked as he handed it over. Won't know until I try. But that sign out front saying that I run electronic shops isn't just for show. Turning his attention back to the handbag, Stanley searched it more thoroughly and found a photograph tucked inside that he'd overlooked on his first inspection. What the hell? He stared at the image, swallowing a lump in his throat. Please don't keep out. Oh, it's gonna be a keep out. I hate my life. Oh no, but we found the keep out. GG, easy. Please tell me this is the keep out. It's gotta be, right? Is it gonna be his brother? That's gonna be wild. That would be insane. Wait, no, that's not the keep out. Oh my god. I'm so perplexed right now. Oh my god. Okay, it's becoming evidently very clear to me that we are not going to be beating this game today. So, I was actually a fool, if I were to write. I'm trying to think, how do we want to do this? I think we... Oh, I think we could finish it next stream. I'm going to keep going for a little bit. Because, you know, it's not 10 yet, and I'm very intrigued by the Stanley portion of the story, so... we are going to keep going for a little bit. But, oh... I feel like, oh, I can't break his keep out. His keep out is probably blocked by someone else. Like, someone else's story up at this portion. There's something weird going on here, though. So, Kano, that's a Kano's story no longer has the bad ending. His bad ending has been unblocked, as has Achi's. So, Pengi, well played. No, we need to finish. Oops. Yeah. Okay, yeesh. So yeah, there is something that happens here that isn't a bad end. What a shame. Palmer swung his right arm up high. Everyone watched in dismay as his hand shot up. The vials he'd been holding sailed upward back against the backdrop of the evening sky. Look out! Achi shouted. Catch him! Catch him! Hurling vials scattered and began to fall. It seemed impossible that Kano's team would be able to keep them from all shattering against the ground. Thus his members fanned out, positioning themselves as best they could to intercept the falling vials. Kano likewise prepared to catch one that was heading straight towards him. As he did, he caught sight of Palmer speeding away. Kano made up his mind on the spot. There's only one right call here, and he needed to make it. Protect the people! He had to protect the lives of the people nearby. As much as he wanted to apprehend this criminal, he couldn't sacrifice innocent people to do it. Oh, his eyes are so big. Kano caught one with his, one of the vials deftly in both hands. Carefully, he examined it for damage. Seeing that the vial didn't appear broken, he let out a sigh of relief. Then he looked around for Palmer, but there was no sign of him. Damn it! The mastermind had gotten away. Vanished without a trace. Amidst the frenetic crowd of the Scramble, a lone criminal could blend in an instant, becoming just another pedestrian. Trying to find him now would probably be a hopeless endeavor. Wait, what? Were we supposed to chase him? Oh my god, are you kidding me? He had to chase after Palmer. It didn't matter if he didn't grab the vial. Something about the way this was playing out made Kano sure of it, so maybe it just watered them. Calling upon his rugby training, he broke into a sprint. Deftly dodging through the crowd, Kano kept Palmer in sight. He would catch him! One way or another, he was going to bring this bastard down. Steadily, he gained on his quarry. At last, he drew within striking range and immediately dived into an expert tackle. He caught Palmer on the waist. Their bodies collided with violent force. Oof! Palmer went down hard, flailing, and hit the pavement hard. Even then, he tried to resist, but Kano straddled him and held him down. Tell me the password! Kano snarled. The kidnapper sneered triumphantly. You made the wrong choice. Wrong choice? Yue is out now. Nobody can be saved. You've just killed everyone in the city. No, Kano shot back. No one's gonna die. What makes you so sure of that? Well, you fled the scene just now. If the virus had really been in those vials, you could never have hoped to escape infection. Running off on foot would be pointless. Palmer said nothing, which means there was no virus in those vials, and they're just a decoy in order to buy you time to escape. Now Palmer gritted his teeth and glared at the gun. The look on his face confirmed the detective's hunch. More importantly, it was your eyes. You didn't have the eyes of a man who was putting his life on the line. My eyes? Who do you think you are, Sherlock Holmes? You know full well to look at a man's eyes when he's willing to die. In the back of his mind, Kano replayed the moment when the panel doused in gasoline. Oh, when the panel doused in gasoline had marched back into that financial office to talk down a would-be arsonist. Now then, the password. Give it to me now. Kano tightened his grip on Palmer's collar, but the man just gazed back at him with an icy glare. Let me have Hitomi Osawa's blood. That was our original deal. Kano wasn't surprised. He'd known it wouldn't be easy to get him to talk. Maybe it really would be impossible to strike a deal without Renata. But if getting her on the phone wasn't an option, Kano had to figure out something else. Sweat beaded on his brow as he cast about for ideas. Then he happened to catch sight of a car that had been overturned by an accident nearby. Gasoline had spilled from the vehicle, creating a broad, dark puddle on the pavement. Kano took out his handcuffs and cuffed Palmer's arm to his own. Come with me. Jerking the captive back to his feet, Kano led him over the car. Then, without hesitation, he sat down in the pool of gasoline. Yanking on the handcuffs, he pulled Palmer down beside him. Pulled a lighter from his pocket. Holy badass, dude. Palmer snorted. And just what's this supposed to be? Tell me the password. Or else what? You'll light the gas? You'll be burned to a crisp yourself. Probably. Kano heard the casual desperation in his voice. What the hell are you thinking? The smile vanished from Palmer's face. Kano scowled down at him. I just want to know the password. Getting revenge for my partner. Even if I die, my friends will avenge me. Everything else is a fucking stupid answer. I just want to know the password. If that's really what you're after, then you can't kill me. Palmer and Kano locked his eyes, both refusing to back down. The scent of gasoline fumes filled the air around them. Kano knew the slightest spark could set off a massive fireball. Don't do it, dude. Don't do it, brother. Calmly, he flicked the lighter on. You can't be serious. Palmer's eyes fixed on the tiny flicker of flame. The password. You value your life so little. The password. In his mind, Kano could see the pages of the Dick Diary clear as day. Dictum number 1. Never lose sight of what you're supposed to protect. Ever. Kano's metal as fuck, dude. Palmer glared in defiance. Kano brought the lighter closer and closer to the gasoline. He could practically feel his own life growing shorter as his hand descended. And yet he felt no trace of fear. His body was numb, his senses strangely distant. Time seemed to slow, the world around him dissolved into a blur. He was surprised at how calm, how remote he felt, here in the midst of his life or death confrontation. And then, far in the depths of Palmer's eyes, he saw the barest hint of doubt. He fixed his gaze on that point of weakness and did not look away. Palmer's shoulders slumped perceptibly. Now Kano was certain of it. This was a man who'd never put his life on the line before. Chizuo's words sounded in the back of his mind. He needed a cool mind and a fiery spirit. A detective without both of those is worth nothing. Let me go. Promise to let me go, and I'll tell you. Is that your answer? I don't think you quite understand the situation. Kano brought the flame still closer to the gasoline. Palmer's eyes went wide. No longer was he able to hide the trembling uncertainty. Alright, I'll tell you. Just put that thing out. The password first. His voice was strangled snarl. Palmer gave him the password. Kano extinguished the lighter. How do we know it's a real password, though? Pulling out a cell phone, Kano dialed up Osawa. As he did, he recalled his last exchange with Stanley at the electronics shop. We're fucking going to Stanley. We need to know. Turning his attention... Okay. It was a photo of Maria standing next to another young girl. There's something written in marker on the back. Me and Kanan, 7:30. Stanley hurriedly flipped the photo back over and looked at it again. What does this mean? That's not Kanan, is it? The girl in the photo of Maria looked nothing like Kanan, who had been there at End Electronics, who had left with Maria and Tateno just a few minutes ago. But if the girl they were working with wasn't Kanan, then who was she? No. Stanley felt his blood run cold. Kanan is the bad guy. Could she be? Was she Alfred? The more he thought about it, the more it all added up. Assuming Alfred were masquerading as Kanan, the whole sequence of events suddenly began to make sense. She was strikingly audacious and fiendishly clever, but she hadn't outmaneuvered them just yet. As luck would have it, they still had a chance to stop her, and at long last, Stanley could see the outline of Alfred's plan. But why doesn't Maria recognize that that's not Kanan? Her goal was to get the antiviral. But extracting the DDS from Hitomi's blood still wasn't enough. Okoshi Pharmaceutical still had the drug at their laboratory. The antiviral's value came specifically from having a monopoly on it, which meant that, in addition to obtaining the drug herself, Alfred also needed to destroy Okoshi's research facilities. That was the crux of her plan. The problem was finding a way to infiltrate those facilities. In all likelihood, Alfred's scheme went something like this. Have Maria Osawa kidnapped, then infect with the UA virus. After that, eliminate Tanaka. Then, once Osawa learned that Maria had been infected with the virus, he was certain to use the antiviral on her. But he needed his partner Tanaka in order to access the storage facility, and Tanaka was dead. That was why Alfred had been masquerading as Kanan. Kanan was Maria's friend, and an expert at hacking passwords. If she could secure Osawa's trust, he would let her into the research facility in order to carry out the hack. That's why Alfred, in the guise of Kanan, had to save Hitomi's life repeatedly. Getting Hitomi to trust her would likewise earn the trust of her father. There was still some finer details in the remaining mystery. For instance, how was Alfred going to destroy the lab? Still, Stanley could look into that once he had her in custody. He needed to move quickly and stop her from ever getting into the Okoshi facility. I fixed it. Daisuke approached Stanley and held out Maria's cell phone. Well, as best I could, at any rate. It looks like it'll get a signal, but whatever data was on it, it's all gone. I see. Stanley took out the phone and put it in his pocket. He hoped he might be able to learn something useful from it, but luck evidently wasn't on his side. He was just going to have to go up against Alfred with what he already had. Now that he'd guessed what was really going on, Stanley went to talk to Kano. You need to go to the Scramble without me, he said. What? Kano was visibly shocked. Where's this coming from all of a sudden? Please don't ask me to explain. Something else has come up, and I have to see to it. Stanley hated having to do this. He wished he could explain everything. But if he made any unusual moves now, there was a risk that Alfred would pick up on it. It was better to keep his companions in the dark, just in case. I understand, Kano said. Do what you have to do, and come back soon. I'm sorry. I wish I could tell you more. It's alright. I'll find a way to get by. Kano gave him a thumbs up. The sight brought back some painful memories. Up until just a few hours ago, Stanley had instinctively seen Kano as all too naive. And now he finally knew why. Kano was just like his younger brother, Frank. Oh. They might have looked very different, but in a way they mixed up their responsibilities with their personal feelings. They were totally alike. Stanley couldn't discount that naivete. In the end, it was all part of the human condition. Jack, are you really okay with this? Frank cast an anxious look at his older brother as they made their way onto the University of Chicago. It's our responsibility to look after you, Stanley told them. As long as you take your studying seriously, I'm all for it. Frank had been worrying about the tuition costs as he prepared for college. After losing their parents 5 years earlier, the two struggled to get by. Yeah, but Stanley set both of his hands on his brother's shoulders. Listen to me, Frank. You're your brother and I care about you. I just want whatever you do to be something you can be proud of. Stroke. Alright, Jack, I hear you. Thanks. Kano, promise me one thing. What's that? Once this is all over, you'll go have a beer with me. Sure, alright. That's a promise now, remember? Kano flashed him a grateful smile. And in that smile, Stanley saw a little something of Frank. Hurrying out of the end of electronics, Stanley dialed up Tateno as he ran along. Listen carefully, your life may depend on it, he said as soon as Tateno picked up. He knew that the detective wouldn't be able to respond openly since Albert was right there with him. On the spur of the moment, Stanley devised a simple code for how he should answer yes or no. Tateno responded, that's right, to mean yes, and will do to mean no. There was no time for anything more than this. He quickly explained his suspicion about Kanan. Tateno sounded distinctly unnerved. At any rate, Stanley said, you need to find a way to turn back without her realizing what's going on. Will do, Tateno replied. Soon he was going to the laboratory despite Stanley's instructions. Saving Maria is your top priority, isn't it? That's right. The detective's affirmation was firm. Alright then. Guess I have to head to that way myself. In the meantime, do not let her inside the lab. That's right. Tateno was no match for Alfred. If she figured out what was going on, she'd probably kill him on the spot. Reassurance or encouragement would be meaningless right now. Instead, Stanley left Tateno with one final warning. If it comes down to it, just shoot her. If you hesitate for a moment, she'll have you dead. Find some way to stall until I get... Find some way to stall until I get there. If she realizes we're on to her, you're done for. Just keep Maria safe. That's your job. Just keep Maria safe. That's your job. Then hung up without saying anything. The area around Dokenzaka was in disarray. The government had declared a state of high alert, and the people in the street were milling around uneasily, unsure just what was going on. The main roads had been blocked off, and automobiles and motorcycles were at a standstill. Some vehicles had overturned on the curb in an apparent attempt to circumvent the blockade. Any moment now, Kanosi would be putting their plan into action at the Scramble. Stanley wasn't sure who they might have gotten to help, but Kano was certain to put them to good use. Please, stay safe. Don't you dare die on me. Don't you die on me now! Stanley prayed silently as he darted underneath the railway overpass. He made it to his car, still parked on the roadside, unfortunately beyond the blocked-off area. Jumping in, he sped off towards the laboratory. As he drove along, Stanley again tried to deduce Albert's plan of action. Alfred herself was on the way to the lab now, and what was the objective of the fake who had been sent to the screen? A call came in from Tateno. Stanley here. He picked it quickly, but as he did, he wondered, why was Tateno calling him? Alfred was right there. There's no way the detective should be risking a phone call. What's going on? Tateno said nothing. Stanley repeated the question. Still, Tateno did not reply. He probably has his phone open to let Stanley hear what's going on. Stanley's apprehension spread like a droplet of ink in water. Hey, something happened? Hey, answer me! Oh, the call cut out. Stanley hurriedly dialed Tateno's number, but he couldn't get through. Something had gone badly wrong, he was sure of it. Had he been too arrogant in thinking that he might be a match for Alfred? His worries turned to the team at the Scramble. What if they had walked into a trap? Figuring that it would be too dangerous to call Kano in the midst of the negotiations, Stanley instead dialed up Achi. Mr. Stanley, what's going on? To Stanley's relief, it sounded like things down at the Scramble had gone well enough, so he asked Achi to put him on the phone with Kano. Give me a sec, the man said. Detective! Stanley could hear Achi shouting on the other end. Got Stanley on the line. He said Detective Tateno. There was a sudden tremendous boom and the call went out. Stanley's jaw dropped. He felt his mind emptied out by despair. He opened his mouth, but he couldn't even bring himself to scream. All he could do was curse inwardly again and again. This was into the steering wheel as hard as he could. Then he did it again and again. And again and again. He didn't stop even when his fists were marred with blood. Bruh. So something consequential happened in Kano's story. Oh wait, let's finish this up real quick actually. Pulling out his cell phone, Kano dialed up Osawa. As he did, he recalled his last exchange with Stanley at the electronic shop. Looks like we'll be able to have that beer together after all. This is probably going to lead to a bad end of the explosion. But Osawa didn't answer. Kano guessed immediately that something was amiss. Detective! Achi's voice was full of worry. I've got Stanley on the line. He says that Detective Tateno... Kaboom. Does that song set off the explosion? It's so funny. Kano didn't get to rehear the rest of Achi's words. A thunderous blast hurled him. Where had the explosion come from? His lighter certainly hadn't set the gasoline ablaze. Kano hadn't been that clumsy. So what had happened? Only one possible answer came to mind. Palmer had blown himself up. That only confused Kano further. His captive had already given up the password. What would prompt him to set off a bomb at this juncture? As he was losing consciousness, Kano continued to rack his brain, but he found no answers. Tateno no longer has a keep out here, that's one thing. And Stanley does have a Tateno jump, but we can't, we're blocked, so let's keep playing Tateno. I think we'll play Tateno until we basically hit a good stopping point, and then I think I will end the stream, and then, so this is not the end of Shibuya Scramble. Tateno's phone rang and he picked up as he sped on. Were you able to break through safely? It was the voice of Detective Kajiwara. Oh. Just gonna skip this because we've already read this. Then I'll wait to pull. I'm sorry, Kajiwara. He said to himself under his breath. Thank you. He bit his lip, then stepped hard on the gas again. Once they'd made it past Shibuya Station, the roads were relatively clear. They ought to make it to the lab in no time. The phone rang again. It was Stanley. "What's going on?" he asked the American. "Listen carefully. Your life may depend on it. I want to ask you some questions. If the answer is yes, say that's right. If it's no, reply with 'will do.'" For a moment, Tateno was bewildered. From the urgency in Stanley's voice, however, he realized that there was some kind of emergency. "That's right," he said after a moment's thought. That ought to let Stanley know he understood the code. "Is Kanan with you right now?" "That's right." Kanan is an imposter. Tateno gripped his phone more tightly, hoping it would stop the trembling in his hand. "It's her," Stanley said. "She's Alfred." The detective had to stifle a gasp of alarm. "I don't have time to fill you in on the details, but I've got some pretty convertible evidence." Starting to, not be able to read. Tateno just struggled to come into terms with what he just heard. He glanced at Kanan through the rearview mirror. She was holding Maria tightly in her arms. Was this really all an act on her part? And if so, why? Well, I guess to be fair, Maria has never seen Kanan. Ah, so she knows. Or at least the fake Kanan, Alfred. There's only one possible reason. If Kanan really was Alfred, then she had only one goal. She was pretending to help Maria in order to get into the lab, where she'd be able to steal the antiviral. But wait, hold on. Kanan was Maria's friend, wasn't she? He told me he had said so much herself. Kanan is my sister's friend. Maria certainly knew what her own friend looked like, and since it was obvious that Maria might be present, it didn't make sense for a clever imposter to pretend to be Kanan. Or did it? When Kanan showed up on the roof of South of Hill, making her surprise attack on Tateno, Maria had taken off down the staircase without ever looking back. And when she turned up at the Endo-Electronics workroom, Maria had already collapsed and fallen unconscious. Yeah, they never saw her. Tateno felt a chill spreading through his body. As far as he knew, Maria had never actually seen the girl who was now sitting in the back seat. But then, what about Hitomi? Shouldn't she have known what Kanan looked like? Tateno just tried to remember what Maria had said, or Hitomi had said. Kanan is my sister's friend. I just met her for the first time today. If they'd never met each other before today, then maybe Hitomi didn't know what the real Kanan looked like. That was the only explanation that made sense. Hey Tateno, are you still with me? Stanley sounded like he was on the verge of panic. At any rate, you need to find a way to turn back without her realizing what's going on. Even if Kanan really was Alfred, Tateno had to keep heading towards that lab. He went over the coded responses in his head. Yes was "that's right," no was "will do." "Will do," he said. "Saving Maria is your top priority, isn't it?" "That's right," Tateno confirmed. "Alright then. Guess I have to head that way myself. In the meantime, do not let her inside that lab." "That's right." Tateno hung up. "Who was that?" Kanan asked. Tateno felt his heart skip a beat. That was Kuze, that caught from earlier. He tried to keep his voice as level as possible. He was worried about us and wanted to check up. "Okay," Kanan muttered, sounding disinterested. Tateno could only hope she hadn't guessed the truth. The truth. I am truth. It felt like the specter of death himself was breathing down his neck. At last, the minivan arrived at Okoshi Pharmaceutical. Tateno pulled up at the front gate and got out of the vehicle. Off to one side of the entrance was an intercom for contacting the security room. I'm assuming you've already heard the details from the director that Tateno barked into the intercom. "Open up." "We haven't heard anything from Director Osawa," the security guard spat back. And moreover, the laboratory is currently on lockdown. I'm sorry, but not even Director Osawa is allowed inside. That's ridiculous. Tenno scowled at the intercom in frustration. Then, a car came racing toward him along the street. Stanley? Kenji Osawa jumped out of the driver's seat. Maria! Osawa rushed over to Tenno, then looked to Maria where she lay in the minivan. He looked carefully at his daughter's face. Oh, thank goodness. She still hasn't gone symptomatic. Mr. Osawa, why aren't people being allowed into the laboratory? Osawa tilted his head. They're not? Tenno explained what the guard had said. That's ridiculous. Osawa immediately called the security guard on the intercom. He got the same story. You've got to be kidding me, Osawa raged. I'm the lab director here, but the security guard wasn't hearing it. But this, I'm sorry, sir. These orders come from Mr. Makino. No. So I'm just supposed to sit here and watch my daughter die? Tateno racked his brain for other ideas. Maybe they'd have to climb the gate and break their way in? Then over the intercom they heard the sound of a phone ringing in the security room. The security guard answered it without muting it on the intercom speaker. His voice was faintly audible. He sounded rather deferential. Who in the world could he be talking to? Before Tateno could move further, the gates suddenly opened. Rift Zone, redeem hydrate. You got it, boss. Hey, Rift Zone though. How you going? Long time no see. What's good in the hood, my homie? You're here just in time for the exciting ending of Shibuya Scramble, which is a very narrative-driven game, so you might be left rather confused if you haven't been catching these streams. But hope all is well with you otherwise. Huh? Why? Tateno and Osawa looked at one another in surprise. I have a message for Director Osawa from Mr. Makino, the security guard said. Mr. Makino? Osawa huddled over the intercom and had a brief soto voice exchange with the guard. What was that about? Tateno asked. It seemed that my wife was able to pull some strings for us. After Osawa left home, I had a change of heart. Even if it meant losing everything, she decided she wanted to save Maria's life. Although Maria was not Ai's real daughter, it turned out the entire time they'd spent living together had sowed the first seeds of a familial bond. Osawa smiled uncomfortably. Tateno didn't have time to wonder what that might mean. Has the lock been opened for us as well? He asked. The smile disappeared from Osawa's face. No, she wasn't able to do anything with that layer, but the final layer of security. I see. Well, let's regroup inside for now. Very well, Osawa said. By the way, who's going to be hacking the password? I am, Kanan replied. Ah, so you're Kanan. We should get you to the laboratory then. Osawa began to lead the way inside. Kanan followed. If Kanan really was Alfred, Tateno couldn't let her into that lab. But without getting that lock open, there was no way of getting Maria the antiviral she needed to survive. What was the right call? Should he still pretend to be in the dark and let Kanan hack the password? He was going to have to let her into the lab. They couldn't go anywhere until Stanley got there. Tateno knew exactly what he needed to do. What's the matter? Osawa turned and cast a look of confusion back at Tateno and Kanan, whom both stopped in their tracks. We'll wait out here, Tateno said. But, I mean, isn't Kanan gonna hack the password? There's been a slight change of plans. Go ahead and wait for us at the lab director. Alright. We don't have much time before Maria develops symptoms. Please don't keep me waiting too long. With Maria in his arms and a worried look on his face, Osawa hurried through the gate and disappeared from the view. Kanan knows that he knows. What do you think you're doing? Kanan asked. Stiffening as Tateno nudged the barrel of his gun against her spine. You're Alfred, aren't you? I have no idea what you're talking about. It's no use trying to play dumb. Stanley found proof. Before he finished speaking, Kanan seemed to disappear from view. She cartwheeled away at a blinding speed, too quick for Tateno to keep a bead on her. But by the time she righted herself, she'd already drawn a gun of her own. Abruptly, he found himself facing her in a stare down, weapons aimed at one another. Don't move, Tateno roared. Then Kanan's phone rang, and she reached to answer it. Don't move, Tateno roared. Did you forget the plan? That might be Hitomi calling. I don't care. Don't you move. If Kanan really was Alfred, the whole plan might be a sham. Tateno kept the barrel of his gun squarely on its mark. Meow! Hello, Gutson! How's it going today? Spooky! Because you came at the moment of a shooting and the guns are out. Woo! Anyways, how's it going? You are here in the last few minutes of stream. We're playing until we find a good spot to end. Because I thought we were going to finish this game today. Yeah, no. So that was a fucking lie. But, yes, you are here for the very exciting conclusion of this stream. But anyways, how you doing today otherwise? Doing fine. Love to hear it. Love to hear it. It's Toxic Tuesday. Did you get any toxicity yet? Kanan let out a little sigh. Have you considered that Stanley might be lying to you? Yes, it's possible. But I need to make sure we avoid a worst case scenario. If you don't let me into the lab, who's going to hack the password? Why does she have a gun? She is totally the bad guy. We've got your little decoy. My friends will get the fake Alfred to cough up the password. Once her phone had stopped ringing, Kanan sighed again. And what about Stanley then? Is he on his way here? Who knows, Tateno said. At that, Kanan lowered her gun. She seemed disturbingly full of confidence. Kanan flipped open her cell phone. Who do you think you're calling? Tateno adjusted his aim, pointing his gun at the young woman's head. Look, I'm gonna call Hitomi and have her clear up these suspicions you have about me. Well, you don't have time for this right now. Wouldn't you agree? Kanan stared back at Tateno, cell phone in hand, waiting for his reply. It doesn't matter what Hitomi says. I trust my own judgment. Stop. This is the sort of nonsense we don't have time for right now. Your own judgment, huh? And is that always correct? Kanan began punching in numbers. She never took her eyes off Tateno as she waited for Hitomi to pick up. She's not answering. Kanan hung up and tried calling again. It's me. It looked like she'd gotten through this time. The detective doesn't trust me. Apparently he thinks I'm Alfred, not Kanan. After a few minutes, Kanan held the phone out to Tateno. Here, Hitomi says I'm definitely Kanan. Tateno didn't reach out for the phone. Instead, he advanced to Kanan with his gun still on its mark. This is a farce, Tateno spat. Hitomi's words don't mean a thing. You might be Kanan to her, but you aren't to me. I don't even know if there even was a real person named Kanan in the first place. So maybe you're Kanan. And you're Alfred. Kanan shook her head, then put her phone away. If you're really Alfred, then you don't actually need to hack the password, Tateno said. I'm guessing you've already gotten it from Tanaka. Which means you'll be able to get your hands on that antiviral as soon as you get into the lab. Didn't so much as flinch. The only thing stopping you is the antiviral still in Hitomi Osawa's body. Possessing the antiviral and having a monopoly on it are two very different things. You want to eliminate Hitomi. That's why you lured her down to the Scramble. Am I wrong? If that's true, then how am I planning on getting rid of her? Using the so-called substitute Alfred or something? Yes, that's right. Tateno couldn't be certain, but he couldn't think of any other way. Kanan let out a laugh. You don't know the first thing about Alfred, she said. Alfred keeps the outlines of his plans blurred so that his deliberate actions just get lumped in with coincidences. That's the crux of all his plans. That's how he's able to pull off all his schemes by himself. He'd never solicit help from a third party. The words seemed like they were Kanan's, but also seemed like they were Alfred's. Whatever the case, Tateno had to let Kanan know that Hitomi was in danger. With his gun still at the ready, he got at his phone and called the detective. But the phone rang several times and nobody answered. Eventually, no choice but to hang up. They must have been in the middle of a confrontation on the other end. For now, Tateno could only pray that Kanan and the others would be able to handle whatever threat they were up against. I am not letting you in there. At that, Kanan let out a faint chuckle. In that case, I'm going to have to eliminate you. Even without her gun raised, she still radiated intimidation. Tateno might have had her at gunpoint, but he could feel the threat of her presence like a gathering storm. Eliminate me, he said, doing his best to mask any sign of weakness. You're the one who doesn't have your gun ready. I don't need my gun, Kanan said simply. And why's that? Because you can't shoot me. What's that supposed to mean? Kanan glared sharply at Tateno. Her look pierced him like a blade, then she quirked an unsettling smile and took a step closer to him. Don't move, he warned. Tateno said, trying to think funny and I'll make sure you regret it. I don't want to pull this trigger if I don't have to. I don't want to pull this trigger if I don't have to. It's not that you don't want to pull that trigger. It's that you can't pull that trigger. I feel like those are probably the same choice, honestly. They don't seem that different. I wanna wait. I'm gonna choose A and see if that changes the dialogue anyhow. Oh, I don't like this. I don't like where this is going. We're going back to my original choice. Okay, so there is a discrepancy, but I don't like this. Maybe we'll go back and play it later, but this is the choice that I want to choose. We're gonna play this, honestly, without murdering people if possible. Pacifist run. It's not that you don't want to pull that trigger, it's that you can't pull that trigger. Kanan took another step closer. You're still traumatized from that time. Oh. Okay. That you let your friend's wife die. Oops. Stop. How do you know about that? Tateno was shaking now, his aim wavering. I heard you talking with the younger detective on that rooftop. That was right. She had been there. Let's test my theory out. Kanan pointed her index finger at her own chest. I'm Alfred, then shoot me. Right here. Huh? The corner of her mouth twisted up. You can't do it, can you? Tateno's gun in hand shook all the more. She's definitely Alfred. You're afraid to pull the trigger. It was as if her words were a spell that she was casting over him. You could hardly even stand the thought of pointing your gun at someone. He couldn't get Kanan's word out of his head. None of this would have happened if Tateno just put 2 in fake Kanan's back in the beginning of this. True. Just keep Maria safe. That's your job. That was what Stanley had said. And he was right. Don't hesitate. Don't think. This was Alfred. A sadistic terrorist. He just needed to trust himself and pull the triggers. Don't do it! Oh my god. There was a horrid, visceral sound. Gastric fluids rushed up to Thanos' throat as he pinched forward to his hands and knees and vomited on the spot. The sensation of pulling the trigger, the recoil in the wake of the shot, it was exactly as it had been all those years ago. He never wanted to fire a gun again. At this point, he'd probably never be able to. Where were you even aiming? The voice had come from in front of him. He looked up to see Kanan standing right there. His heart began hammering like mad. This was the end. He braced himself for oblivion, even as his body cried out to survive. There was the dull roar of a gunshot, and then silence. She didn't shoot Tatheno though, did she? What? Fake picture, where's the barf on the ground? That's what I was thinking actually too, not gonna lie. Okay, so we probably need Stanley to get there to help her. Him. But yeah. Yes, see, Stanley's bad ending has been broken. We need to get to Tateno in time to help him. But we are not going to play that today, because my throat is so dead. We are not close to being in the game. Probably next week, honestly. Although we'll probably take another 3-hour stream. But it's doable. But yes, spicy stream to end on. A spicy moment to end on. But anyways. Yeah, that is indeed it for me for today, lads. We are very truly getting close to the end, if not the actual end, but yeah. I think we are close now, probably. Probably gonna take another slightly longer stream again next week, but I think next stream will literally be the last stream. Unless I also choose to do the end game, like not the post-game content like you mentioned there is Life Iris. We'll see about that. I'm undecided yet, but anyways. My throat is so tired, so I would really like to rest it right now. I'm also a little tired, so I'd like to crawl into bed. But yeah, thank you everyone for coming by. Next stream will be on Saturday. We will indeed be once again playing Birth by Sleep. Where, oh, we found Axel again! I need to know who this guy is. But anyways, thank you all again for coming by. Have a good rest of your days and have a great week, and I will see you all on Saturday. Goodbye now! Da-da-da.